What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? How many times I got to click go live around here? Took a second. Not sure what the disconnect was there. Hopefully this is working. Hopefully I'm streaming out to the masses. Glasses are in a weird, uncomfortable position on my nose. My name's Terry McBride. Welcome to the show. This is the Lineup Card Live show. We're going to go through the DFS slate for DraftKings and FanDuel for tonight. 6:35 start time for both slates. We've got 9 games on DK because they included the Dodgers game at the end of the night, which is just looking like an absolute launching pad. One of the more skewed Vegas lines you'll ever see, with the Dodgers going up against Tomo Sugano and with Shohei Ohtani on the mound. Ridiculous game at the end of the night. Late night hammer. Ohtani, incredibly useful on that DraftKings slate. We'll take a look at that. Only 8 games on FanDuel. They just went with the 6:30 to 8:30 or whatever it is sprint. Getting through 8 games in a hurry, leaving that big game with the Dodgers off. Kind of surprised they left the star power of the Dodgers just to be a showdown, but I also get it. They're trying to squeak out as many different slates as possible these days. But it should be a good one. It's fairly useful pitching available. Couple spots that are looking really, really interesting for bats, though. Just updated the Vegas totals. That's what I was doing behind the scenes there before the show started. Since I hadn't updated any of the confirmed lineups yet, figured it would be a good opportunity. And just grabbed the new Vegas totals. Most importantly on that, as we get started here, Yanks came down by a half a run. They were just over 5 earlier. That game came down from 9 runs to 8.5. Yanks took a little bit of an overall hit, and they're pulling still a very interesting total, 4.69. Good for third highest on the overall board now, but slipping behind the Pirates, getting a little bit closer to the Rays and the O's in what looks like a offense-friendly game in Baltimore. And then you can see the Dodgers, like I said, look at this line. This is ridiculous. It's only an 8-run game. The Dodgers are getting 5.5 of that. The Rockies coming in at a 2.72 implied total against Ohtani. Just ridiculous. We saw these guys and those guys, stacks 1 and 2 on the board yesterday, go off like crazy. What was it, 15 runs apiece? Did the Dodgers stop at 15? I believe the Yankees did. I know the Dodgers reached 15. I don't know if that was their eventual stopping point or did they go higher. Was that Betts home run? Did that get him, that second Betts home run, get him to like 17? Forget what the final was in that game, but ludicrous, crazy slate yesterday. This one's got a lot of work to do to get to that level, but a few spots visible for definite upside and a really interesting board. A couple of affordable pitchers. Should be a fun one to talk through. Andy's here. Rabbit Hole's here. Cujo's here. Got Cujo set up with his free week for hitting the home run pick a couple days back. We'll do some of those sporadically, probably not today. Don't have one in mind. Last time I made one up on the fly, I gave a few pretty easy lines on strikeouts away, but guys aren't following up. You got to get in touch. Let me know how to set you up for the week. Cujo did. He's got his week going right now, or he's got his code anyway. I don't know if he set it up yet. But let me know if you won one of those already. Let me know. With that in mind, though, if you can, after the show, jump back here, drop a comment in. Tell me that I take too long in the windup here. Tell me that I waste too much time and the show's too long. Tell me that we did a great job. Tell me we did a poor job. Tell me you think I'm a fraud. Whatever you want to say, do it in a comment on the show because that does actually feed the algorithm. Hit the like and subscribe on the channel as well as we get started here. So again, interesting 8 games on FanDuel, starting with that Rays and Orioles game. The home run pick of the day comes early out of that game. I'm intrigued by the Rays side of that one, going up against Trey Gibson. Kid hasn't really had too many home run hiccups through his professional career so far coming up, but it looks like each time he's been promoted, he kind of has run into a little bit of a home run downside against. In his first outing, it was 4 2/3 against the Yankees, and this could happen to anybody against that Yankee squad. He gave up 2 homers, struck out 2, walked 2, 3 earned runs, 4 hits, was out before he finished 5 innings. And then he pitched 2 innings in relief against the Athletics and was okay, gave up an earned run on 3 hits, faced 10 hitters, no home run allowed. But we're pulling some interesting power numbers on the Rays side of it. The home run pick of the day comes from the Rays side. They have Steven Matz on the bump. He's offering plenty of upside to the Orioles. They've got upside for power, several guys over the magic number. Both those teams in the 4-5 range as far as an implied total. Definitely a go-to game for bats. The Cubbies, the Pirates, both those teams definitely on the board for bats as well. 4-7-2 implied on the Pirates side, pushing them up toward the top of the board as far as our stacks board goes. They're showing a decent amount of power in that matchup. They're going up against Jamison Tyone. Definitely seems like a highly targetable spot. And then coming back the other way, it's going up against Bubba Chandler, who had his best outing by far in his most recent start. We talked about that game that day, and we were on the wrong side of it, gotta say. I was not really liking him against that low strikeout Blue Jays team, and he came out and put up a gem. 5 innings, 11 strikeouts against that squad. 3 walks, 3 unearned runs on 2 hits. He was terrific, and more so for fantasy. I don't know that we're going back to that level against this Cubs team, and they're showing plenty of upside with that 4.38 implied total. He's shown some downside throughout the early part of his career, way too many walks, allowing a little bit of power. So I do think we could probably get back on track with targeting him a little bit, but it wouldn't knock me out of my chair if he was decent again. He is a very high-end prospect and is supposed to put things together to be very, very good. Just looking at the conditions in Pittsburgh, the wind is blowing out, but only at 5 miles an hour. It's a 75-degree night at game time there, so no real bump from the wind conditions. That one is primarily just based on the bats and the pitching matchup. Angels and the Tigers, good pitching matchup here. 7.5 run total. So Jose Soriano on the mound for the Angels. It's Casey Mize, who's been terrific going for the Tigers. High strikeout opponent in the Angels, pushes a little upside in Mize's direction. And both those guys have been pretty primo in terms of limiting some runs, finding their upside this season. So like both sides of that one. Would play either side as far as the bats go. Those are two capable enough teams for DFS purposes with a little bit of power on both sides and a little visible power. Probably like the Angels side of it a little bit better than attacking Soriano. He's never a pitcher we really want to go up against because he doesn't allow much home run upside, even though he's allowing a little bit more premium contact this year. But if Angels bats came up, I wouldn't necessarily rush to take them out of process, but it would only be if we were getting to them. I don't know why this thing's whirring so much. I pulled up Prop Finder to check out the weather. I don't know if they have some app running in the background and like stealing my data, but not stealing like my DFS data, like stealing my identity. Hopefully not. Something's making the computer work. Nah, we won't worry about it now. Going into the next one, it is overperforming Bryce Elder going up against interesting Connolly Early. Just under a 4-run total on the Braves side of that one. They have interesting power bats showing a little bit of upside against the young lefty. He hasn't been bad as far as giving up power, but I'm not entirely sure that it's real. He has been giving up some premium contact along the way there. So I think we could potentially get him. It's a little both-sided on that one because I think he's usable from the mid-board. And then Elder probably also usable with the Red Sox coming in at a 4.11 implied total, but also, kind of up and down type squad, totally gettable squad at not a great total in just an 8-run game. And Elder's been effective. Not a big-time strikeout pitcher, but he's put up a couple decent DFS days on strikeouts as well. The Reds and the Mets, it's Andrew Abbott pushing a decent upside day toward the New York Mets. They're pulling a 4.13 implied against him. The Reds come in at a sub-4 implied total. They're going up against Huáscar Brazoban and then Jonah Tong as an opener-follower combination. So we'll check Tong out. He only went 3 innings in the last one. I have him at around 4 today. I don't really expect much more than that. But a capable kid with upside was pitching complete starts. Not complete games, but complete starts. Let's see if I have a tissue. I got a little stuffy as I was talking there for some reason. I was just outside before with Joker, and they just cut the grass. It was probably a bad idea. Excuse me. So Tong, high-end prospect, but I don't think we're getting enough upside out of him. Going on from that one, Connor Prelip against the debut of David Sandlin. Sandlin, kind of a middling option. He does have a big-time fastball. He ranks 10th organizationally on the Fangraphs prospect board here. Has some decent strikeout numbers as you would expect through the minors with the gas on the fastball. Has okay numbers through the minors. We'll see how it translates to the show. I think maybe interesting enough if the price is right. Mid-4 implied total against a gettable Twins team. But they have a little bit of juice for power as well. So that one seemingly a little four cornersy. I think we target either of the young pitchers with either of those lineups. but it wouldn't surprise if either guy had a good day and found some strikeout against those lineups too. The Yankees still showing some upside, even though it came down by a half a run. They're going up against lefty Noah Cameron. Yanks have Garrett Cole on the mound, making his second start back. First one was good, not great. He faced 22 hitters over 6 innings, threw plenty of pitches, struck out 2 and walked 3, gave up 2 hits, no earned runs. So on the surface, very good. If you look at some of the underlying, like the xFIP for that game was a 6.25 under a 0 ERA. So take from that what you will. It's still Garrett Cole. Premium starter. Wouldn't stun if the Royals hit a long ball for a couple of runs, or scratched out a couple runs on just some base hits, contact-oriented squad that they are. Just a 3.91 implied total for them, though. Definitely considering some Garrett Cole shares, the upsides there. Houston at Texas. This one got bent on us yesterday with Jason Alexander. We've been talking about targeting that Texas squad when they're at home with pitching, and it worked out pretty well on Monday with Imai and the bullpen throwing a combined no-hitter. Came back the other way with the Rangers going off completely yesterday against Jason Alexander. Mike Burrow's talented pitcher, really not finding it, not putting it together so far this year. 11 earned runs in his last 2 starts over 11 2/3 innings against the Mariners and the Twins at Minnesota. Definitely similar type squads with Texas here. I don't love the spot for Burrows, but I would consider him because I do believe in the talent. I do believe in some strikeout upside as he puts it back together. But it's been a rough year. He's walking too many. He's given up a little bit of power, multiple multi-home run games. So when it's bad, it's been real bad. He's given up 2 home runs in 4 or 5 different starts already this year out of 10. So not great. And then rounding things out on DraftKings is that ugly or appealing, depending on which side you're looking at, Rockies and Dodgers game. We'll get to it when we get to it. Dodgers look absolutely ridiculous in the home run model, in the game sims, anywhere you look. Looking around on the weather board since I pulled it up, the only questionable spot looks like Fenway. Roth has it just yellow-green. Couple showers in the area. Seems totally fine. Everywhere is kind of warm today, but nothing overly interesting at all really standing out as far as conditions. Man, I'm not seeing anything really leaping off the board conditions-wise in his most recent update. So wouldn't sweat weather too much today. Let me get back on the board here. Got it set up yesterday, Coach. Beautiful. Figured it would be set up. Glad I remembered to send it over to you. But like Cujo did, just if you won one of those free weeks, hit me up in Discord, hit me up on Twitter. You guys know where to find me. And just remind me and let me know like the account name you have set up on Rotoscouts, or just let me know and I'll set you up a promo code so that you can, like Cujo did, just set up a new subscription. And then it'll be on you to cancel that, like I told Cujo. I think everybody knows that at this point. This is not correctly sorted right now. I don't know why David Sandlin is all the way up there. That's much better. Sandlin might be interesting at the 4,000 on DraftKings, but he certainly wasn't up there at that 8-point projection. The issue there is that, if memory serves, he did not go more than 4 innings in any of his minor league starts. I've got the board right here. Let me double check that. Yeah, 4 innings the last time out, 4 innings on the 2nd of May against Atlanta's affiliate. Decent strikeout numbers in several of those outings, including 7 and just 1 run allowed on 4 hits. That was, again, actually both of those 4 inning outings were against Atlanta's affiliate. The most recent one, 4 innings, faced 18 hitters, struck out 7 of them, 1 earned run on 4 hits, just 1 walk. Overall, had a very low ERA, 26 strikeouts in 16 1/3 innings down on the farm this year. 2 of those outings came at high A, 4 of them at AAA. So the AAA numbers amount to where is it? A 0.75 ERA, but a 3.66 xFIP. A very solid 32.7% strikeout rate, but an 11.5% walk rate. Again, this is over 4 outings and 12 innings. So there is potential there, and he's going up against the targetable enough Minnesota squad. I just question what the ceiling is like. If you want to buy 8 to 10 with a ceiling of like 12, probably not get a win bonus. Certainly not compete for any kind of complete game or anything like that. At 4,000, that might buy you something interesting. So I think he's at least on the DK board. Very, very light potential on FanDuel. I wouldn't think that we're getting more than 4. Maybe we get him into a 5th inning, but less likely to complete the 5th inning. And you're not going to compete for a quality start on a slate with a pretty deep upside for competing for a quality start. So I think that's a DK only bargain bin kind of a consideration. Probably better option, though, than Tong for 1,800 more with only similar upside and only similar upside for innings pitched and working as a bulk reliever rather than a true starter. Sugano is a hard no on that slate. Trey Gibson, to me, again, I'm seeing raised bats on the other side of that one. I don't know about you guys, but maybe you could throw a dart at that for a few innings. Brazoban's just an opener. So there's not a ton in the pure bargain bin down there, despite that coloring. You do have Bubba Chandler, Andrew Abbott working through the $6,000 range on DraftKings. Again, I don't fully trust that now that we saw an 11 strikeout game last time out, Bubba Chandler is broken out of his shell, but he is a very, very good prospect. It's just that's a good Cubs team on the other side, even though they've been scuffling over the last few weeks in general. But 6,000 is really cheap for Chandler for his strikeout potential, for the fact that 6 innings are on the table easily if things are going well. Same is true on FanDuel at 7,600. But you are drawing a mid-4s implied total, 4.5 runs on both sides of that game. So bear that in mind as you consider the cheap option. Abbott is a lot lighter of a consideration, even though they project the same. I think the ceiling is less. There is plenty of threat from that Mets lineup. Lower end strikeout ceiling. Don't love it. I talked about Burrows a little bit in the Vegas board rundown there. At 7,000 on both sites, I think that's well worth finding out against Texas. Again, it went against us yesterday, but it worked definitely in your favor if you went to Imai at a cheap price the day before. And they've been crazy targetable in home games this year. They've been awful in that ballpark. So I think Burrows, if he finds it for a night, plenty of strikeout potential, equal to everybody from below Garrett Cole. And probably you could throw Mize into that mix, although the Angels give a little boost to him. So Burrows is plenty playable on either side. He projects competitively with everybody on the board. I really don't like Jamison Taillon. I wish he was projecting a little bit lower. You do get a little bit of strikeout bump from facing that Pittsburgh team. They can certainly be erratic with the players in that lineup, but that's more the strikeout bump, I think, than anything else. At 73, at 68, it's worth throwing darts at. There is a little bit of ceiling potential there when Taillon has his good days, but a very, very middle-of-the-road type starter, back end of your rotation type starter. So I don't love it, and I don't know that there's a ton of ceiling, certainly not equal ceiling to really anybody up there, and questionably less ceiling than Burrows, Chandler, I don't know about Matz, Cameron, or any of those guys. Probably equal more to the bottom-end guys down through there. I think I skipped over Matz. Pretty avoidable, given the right-handed upside in that Baltimore lineup. Same thing with Noah Cameron, given the upside in general in that Yankees lineup. We just saw them explode yesterday. They're just generally good against left-handed pitching with some of those righties, and they get frisky with some very cheap bats for DFS purposes in that setup. So I like attacking both of those lefties with those lineups. They both rate out toward the top of the stacks board. Yanks were, I believe, number 1 on DraftKings after we sorted the Dodgers out, and that made them number 1 on FanDuel too. And then I think the O's were like between, they weren't second. The Dodgers were second on DraftKings. I could just look. But it was AL East heavy up toward the top. Let's put it that way. The O's were in like the top 4 or 5, and the Rays were up there as well, along with the Yankees. So just a spot I want to attack those lefties. Matz has had a couple capable outings. Cameron does have some talent. Wouldn't shock if either of those guys succeeded. And there is some strikeout potential against the Yankees in particular, but there is the potential to shut both of those teams down, especially if the power bats don't come through. So it wouldn't stun if either or both of those guys had an okay day. But if either of those guys was the slate winner, it would be a little bit surprising. Elder, again, just priced up a little bit for what he's already done this season, pitching over his head. I don't love that spot going into grabbing him against Boston at 99. At 87, it's a little bit more friendly on DraftKings, but also doesn't seem like the best option in the world when we've got some really usable, interesting starters in good spots above him. Prelip against the White Sox at 82.75 has shown a strikeout upside in the majors already. Has had some very, very interesting starts. Kind of went sideways in his last one on a day where we were on him. He gave up, 6 runs? Yeah, Connor. There he is. Yeah, 6 earned runs. 5 earned runs, 6 runs total on 7 hits. That was over 4 innings against the Red Sox. Kind of a meltdown there. Just 1 strikeout and 3 walks. We're going to see starts get away from young pitchers, especially young lefties from time to time. But prior to that, he hadn't given up more than 2 earned runs in the other 5 starts that he made. And he was working into the 5th, completed the 5th 3 different times and completed the 6th in the start prior to the meltdown in Boston. So I think we give him plenty of leash here. And there is upside for strikeout against that White Sox team. They've got plenty of potential up at the top, but they get weak down through the middle and the bottom of that lineup. So targetable spot, but again, wouldn't surprise at all if Connor Prelip went sideways on us again. Connolly early, you could say similar things about. He's going up against a more threatening lineup. That's a more complete top to bottom lineup in Atlanta with some major, major upside for power, both from the key lefties in that lineup as well as the big time righties that they have. 9,100. I would play Connolly early at that price, but I don't know that he's totally necessary on FanDuel. That probably does, though, render him low owned for tournament play. So you could go there. 8,000 on DraftKings, I think, puts him more in consideration for the slate at large. I just think he's going to be a part of things over there a little bit more. And again, he's interesting. He's entirely playable. He's got a little bit of strikeout upside, more than he's shown all through this year so far. I believe started to find it in the last couple a little bit more. Pull that up, too. It was 3 back that he put it together. 8 strikeouts over 7 innings. 4 hit the Rays. Just 1 walk. No runs. 2 earned runs in the start after that against this Braves team. Was interesting. 6 strikeouts. Give up 2 home runs in that game, though. A little bit of downside there. So that could be the kind of day that you're in store for. Just a couple mistakes for power, and then it's going to come down to how many guys are on base against how many strikeouts. Home runs plus runners on base minus strikeouts is going to be your equation there. Garrett Cole, tremendous option, 9,800, and especially at 8,300, that's a broken price on Garrett Cole. Oh, wow, Yuri Perez went, did he come out of the game today? Yahoo changed his status today. That's not good. Anybody got eyes on what happened to Yuri Perez? Anyway, Cole at this price, even against a talented, underperforming Royals team, that's a ridiculously low price to find Garrett Cole, especially when we know we've got 6 inning potential. He went 6 just the other day. Plenty of upside. Casey Mize against the high strikeout Angels. Yes. 8,500. Absolutely. I don't dislike the idea at all of putting those two together at a pretty cheap price. There's tremendous potential in that pairing. And then any of the 3 guys at the top. Soriano was overperforming at the beginning of the season. Price is still pretty high at 10,400, 10,000, but the upside is very real. We've seen him spike massive ceilings already this year, and we know what the more typical Soriano start looks like. This is a very good spot against the Tigers team that struggles when they're not hitting for power. They have plenty of strikeout in that lineup. So I like his upside just fine, but he's not Jacob deGrom. He's not Shohei Ohtani on the DraftKings slate. Those guys set apart a little bit. As you can see, it's just those two running off with the slate together. If you can afford to put them together at those 2 high prices on DraftKings, go for it. Jacob deGrom, class of the slate at 96 on FanDuel. What happened to Perez? Right hamstring spasm? All right, that's probably your best case scenario. That happened to somebody else. There was another prominent pitcher that came out with a leg. Was that what it was? That's what happened with Noah Schultz, right? That's why Schultz went on the IL. That's why we're getting David Sandlin today. Pretty sure that was a leg for Schultz as well. So anyway, that is a really deep, interesting pitching board. I mean, how many pitchers on there did I say are usable? Basically everyone from Sandlin up. It's really only that bottom end One of those guys is an opener. One of those guys isn't on the FanDuel slate. These Tomos got it against the Dodgers, so you don't want him anyway. Gibson will give a better look at that 4,000. I do have him here. That's our first game up. So as we get into the game by game, again, like and subscribe, scrolling across the bottom of your screen as I grab any updated lineups that have come in. It is still early. It's only 3 o'clock. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen there at Rotoscouts, at Rotoscouts on Twitter, rotoscouts.com on your internet machines. Check it out. Under $1 a day. MLB, NBA, NHL, NFL, anything that hits that website, you're the same subscription, no per sport fees, no nothing. So give it a look. A lot of content, a lot of projections, every single main slate for every one of those sports included for the same money. So go give it a look when you get a chance. Weekly, monthly, quarterly subscriptions available. Let's dive in. So Steven Matz, 78-72. Pitching to a 3.70 ERA with a 4.26 xFIP, 4.38 Sierra, half a run higher, but still reasonable. You know, gives you that opportunity to go out and have a decent 2-run day with a handful of strikeouts. He's striking out 20-ish%, walking a few too many against that low strikeout rate. It's not ideal. And, you know, again, pitching over his head via that ERA. But I think maybe even, you know, some of the run limitation numbers are also held in check by that really low strikeout minus walk rate that he's putting up right now. I'm also concerned with the 11.1% barrel rate on what is a typical fly ball trajectory. 88.5 miles an hour of exit velo, not problematic. 35% hard hit, not at all problematic. The mistakes, though, have traveled. 3.61% home run rate is manageable, but it is manageably high. And these Orioles have some pretty loaded right-handed power that they can throw at this guy. So I tend to lean Orioles. Vegas does as well, 4.5 implied total. But Matz is really, really cheap. On the upside, had a 7 strikeout day over 5 innings against the Yanks, gave up 2 earned runs. That was back on April 10th. An 8 strikeout day over 6 back on April 4th, the start before that Yankees won against the Twins. That shows his upside. Since then, he hasn't struck out more than 5. That came over 4 innings against this Baltimore team the last time out. In that game, he gave up 1 earned run on 3 hits, but it was out of the game after 4 innings. Struck out 5, walked 2. Prior to that, he did pitch deep into 2 games. 6 innings, 7 innings against the Giants in Cleveland, pitched well, 1 earned run, 2 earned runs, but it wasn't finding the case. Just 1 strikeout, 2 strikeouts, 1 against the Giants, 2 against Cleveland. Prior to that, the other 4 starts in between, kind of short outings, a couple few runs in every game. But again, there is a little bit of capable upside. He just hasn't put together the good deep start with strikeout and run limitation all in the same outing this season. But he's cheap. The Orioles are up and down. You can find out. 23.8% strikeout rate against lefties. The active roster for this team is a 25.1% strikeout rate as well. So a little bit of potential depending on who's in the lineup, but they are capable of stacking righties in this lineup, as you can see in this projected version. Going this way against Trey Gibson. As mentioned, through the minors, didn't really, I added up the last few seasons, including the work so far in the show, and it was something like 23 home runs to 800 and something hitters. I forget how many hitters it was. It doesn't matter. So manageable, 2 something percent home run rate when like 4 is our problematic number. Entirely manageable as he came up, but there were blips, there were little spikes as he got promoted at each level. And we saw that with the 2 home runs allowed in the first outing of 4 2/3 against the Yanks. Again, that could come against anybody against the Yankees, but it's at least noteworthy. A 16.7% barrel rate allowed over his 6 2/3 so far. 92.5 miles an hour of exit velocity allowed so far. 45.8% hard hits. Stuff Plus hasn't exactly like the Arsenal, 5 points below average. In the incredibly limited sample, hasn't really induced swinging strike at the major leagues, at the major league level, has walked a few hitters so far. Obviously, we're ridiculously incomplete numbers over here, but it points significantly more toward Ray's upside and this 4.57 implied total paying off and some of these home run numbers potentially being real. So like the Rays bats, if we're looking at Gibson as far as that $4,000 price tag on DraftKings, in the minors, he did have several starts where he completed 5 innings. Those are going back into late mid-April. 5 innings in several of those. Would you go lie down, please? You need to chill, buddy. It's going to be a minute. Come on down. The last few in the minors before he came up, which was on or around the 3rd. Actually, he bumped back down to the minors on the 20th and went 3 innings. I hadn't spotted that. So back 7 days ago. 3 inning outing there. Give up 1 earned run, struck out 2 in that one against Miami's affiliate. Prior to that, it was a couple short outings and then the 2 short outings up in the show. Did have a little bit of strikeout upside through some of the deeper starts in those AAA appearances. If he's capable of giving you 5 at the $4,000 price tag, it's probably at least roughly similar to Sandlin against Minnesota. I just think this Rays run scoring engine is a little bit more dangerous than what Minnesota's putting up these days. And I think Sandlin's got a little bit more upside from where he's positioned. So I probably lean in his direction, but if you're going to throw one $4,000 guy, you could consider throwing the other one. And again, Sandlin's only going to be good for like 4 innings. As far as the Rays bats go, Chandler Simpson at 38.29. Carry a 296 average, getting on at a 326 clip isn't bad. The other numbers are kind of lackluster as you look across that line, though. Just a 91 WRC plus, a 260 xWOBA. I continue to think that he's a player that'll just defy xWOBA forever because of his speed. xWOBA measures, what the likely it normalizes hits, batted ball events, and where they're headed as far as what should have happened on that play. And his just ridiculous speed, I think, tends to bend that. So you're always going to see him in a better weighted on base than his xWOBA. But even the actual is just 304. So a little bit of concern there. We do need to see a little bit more contact. We do need to see a little bit more ability to drive the ball, but going to hit around 300, going to steal a ton of bases, hopefully create more runs than he's creating so far. 14 steals on the board, though, incredibly useful for DFS and a walking triple and an exciting player to have in your lineup on any given slate. So definitely like the upside for Chandler Simpson, and I love putting him ahead of the big-time power bats in Junior Caminero, who looks tremendous today, 19.56 in the home run model. He's already hit 13 this year, carrying a 12.9% barrel, a 376 xWOBA under the surface. His actual is 370, so he's right on track. Love the upside for Junior to hit one out of the park today, but he wasn't the home run pick of the day. Neither was Yandy Diaz 2 spots later, who I also really like. I like him for his power upside, but I also like him for his just on base skills at 388, a 147 WRC plus. Doesn't strike out, puts plenty of balls in play, knows how to draw a walk, but it's not typically, the main source of him getting on base. He just hits the ball hard. Excellent at hitting for average. Again, 312, 388, 497. Has power. 8 home runs on the board. Mashes baseballs. Loves Yandy Diaz. But Jonathan Aranda is your home run pick of the day. He's hit 9 on the season. He's got a 10.60 in the home run model. Carrying a 10.8% barrel from the left side. Love the Thunder. 3,800 on DraftKings is nice and cheap. He's 35 on FanDuel. That stretch, all 3 of those guys are a little bit expensive. It also sucks that you have to put Aranda and Yandy at first base util, but is what it is. They're worth getting to in this spot, it looks like. Love the upside for that trio. Richie Palacios, Cedric Mullins, Victor Mesa, Hunter Fiducia, and Oliver Dunn as we go down this projected lineup. Some mix and match quality going down the rest of the way for the Rays. It does hamper the stack a little bit as far as how it grades out. Could be a little bit better if they had a longer lineup. But Palacios, at least usable. 260, 368, a 104 WRC plus. Victor Mesa had a really interesting game the other day. He's made 10 plate appearances, got a 163 WRC plus so far. Once upon a time, a high-end prospect. Interesting enough skill set for DFS as far as filling categories. Very cheap at $23.25 to plunk into the outfield. Said Mullins, once upon a time, primo guy. He also had a big day just the other day. He's got 3 home runs and 10 stolen bases and 179 plate appearances this season. Ignore the rest of that entire line. He's just also very cheap for a guy who is formerly pretty regularly a 2020 option. And then Fiducia, mix and match, same thing with Dunn. It's really about those 4 guys, and that's going to be a common build among people that go to this team. But there's enough on the board where I think even if you're just straight lining it on FanDuel with those 4, you're doing fine. It's $3,400 a piece. There's cheap pitching. There's cheap enough bats with all the stupid pricing. So like the upside a lot for the Rays. And again, Aranda, home run pick of the day. Got it out early today. On the other side, there were tempting picks on this one as well, though, going up against the lefty. This lineup has the opportunity to excel against left-handed pitching, especially as things warm up and the power starts coming around for a guy like Taylor Ward off the top. He's only hit 2 home runs this year. Just a 4.7% barrel rate is way down from his previous highs of 13% plus the last 2 years. 38.5% hard hit. He's slashing 250, 397, 357. That 397 is ideal in the leadoff spot if he just wants to push for correlated scoring potential. I don't think what they're paying him for this coming in, but it's working out all right. Carrying a 124 WRC plus so far. Has a 349 WOBA and xWOBA. Gunnar Henderson at 52-35, 11 home runs on the board, scuffling across the slash line. Too many strikeouts against too few walks. The contact is right around where it was last year, but both those years are down from the previous 2 seasons. Gunnar's really got to put it back together in terms of the at least frequency, the reliability. 217, 270, 413 is not who we think this player is. 301 weighted on base with a 292 underneath it. Maybe that 292 is real, and maybe he just continues to be this guy. At worst, you can buy power upside, but he's priced for more than just power upside. Shortstop's a pretty deep position. He does have the ability to blast one, though, 8.96 in the home run model. Don't overlook him. Don't skip him for any reason. Adley Rutschman cheap at 4,300 or 4,300 where you need catchers, 3,400 where you don't. 7 home runs on the board for Adley. Like the power upside, carrying a 225 ISO, 352 weighted on base, 356 xWOB under the surface. Solid 8.7% barrel, 45.2% hard hit. Adley's been really good switch hitter. Love the upside for the catcher. You've been going back and forth with him and Sammy Basayo, so upside either way. But Adley's been good, and that's a really affordable bat in the middle of the lineup at a key position on DraftKings. So again, with a 4.5 total, the Orioles are in play and would not sleep on Adley Rutschman shares. Pete Alonso, self-explanatory, 10 home runs, best power bat in the lineup, 13% barrel, 55.2% hard hit. Former teammate of Steven Matz has tons and tons of upside on the Alonso side of that equation. Be surprised if Matz gets him more than once with a strikeout, and Pete's going to have some good batted ball events here. Kobe Mayo, plenty of upside for him as well. Solid medium strength contact numbers. Hasn't translated into much of anything. Does have 5 home runs in 143 plate appearances, but otherwise that's a really ugly line, just a 68 WRC plus. But there's more here. That is good contact. There was good contact in play last year. 30% strikeout is too high. It's up from 28.6 last year, which was also too high, but he was drawing more walks at 9.2. This is okay. This is more problematic. So he's got to really start to get things going. 31 at third base, though. Not bad if you're going to this team already. I prefer him greatly at third base on FanDuel as well for 25. I wouldn't really have him too much in play at first, certainly not instead of Pete Alonso. So you're going mostly like Alonso and then him at util if you're doing that. Make sure you're getting a premium third baseman if you use that build. I think he's got the power upside to fill third base, which is a generally short position, though, if you're using the O's already. Not really a reason to go to the O's. Weston Wilson, Jeremiah Jackson, Blaze Alexander, all mix and match guys who are capable of striking the ball well. Yeah, 6 home runs on the board out of Jeremiah Jackson. He got off to a very hot start. He's down to a 269 on base, just carrying an 88 WRC plus. I still think that the interesting bat in this projected lineup, he's hitting 9th, which he did yesterday, I believe. But if he's in the lineup, hopefully hitting up a little higher. Tyler O'Neill remains interesting. This is a former 30 home run guy. He's been going through it over the 105 plate appearances. He's already been to the IL once this year, missed a few games with other injuries, in and out of the lineup. Just needs to get in there regularly, find a little bit of success, and hopefully it comes, because this used to be a major source of barrels, premium contact galore right there. Right? Go back just a couple seasons. 31 home runs in 473 plate appearances in 2024. That was with the Sox. 131 WRC plus at 270 ISO. Was always a big-time prospect when he came up with the Cardinals. Had some good seasons there. Kicked around a little bit. When he's healthy, when he's regularly in the lineup, the power does arrive. We just haven't seen it, but 2,500 is really cheap. So is 3,000 on DraftKings. Definitely in consideration. I just want him hitting like where Weston Wilson is in this projected. I'll click the button again, see if we got those while I was talking. In general, I think this goes Rays bats, O's bats. Doesn't look like either of them just confirmed. And then on the mound, it would definitely be Steven Matz over Trey Gibson. Trey Gibson would maybe only just be a cheapo dart there and probably not keyed up for success. Oh, those are lineups from the early slate. Cubbies, 4.38 implied total coming in against the Pirates at a 4.72. It's Bubba Chandler on the mound again. Chandler had a breakout game the last time out. We'll see if it continues. Struck out 11 in that one. Previous high this season was 6. He did that twice. He also struck out the 11 over just 5 innings. Came with 3 walks. Came with 3 unearned runs on 2 hits. That was against the low strikeout Blue Jays. Going against these Cubs, there's plenty of potential on the Cubs side. They're showing some power upside against Bubba here. Bubba has given up a 9.2% barrel on a 19-degree average launch, so there's a little bit of home run potential there. Just under the 90-mile-an-hour threshold of exit velocity. 3.30% home runs, manageable. You can see the talent in the Stuff Plus rating. 22.2% strikeout, right around the league average, but way too many walks early on. And again, he did walk a few in that gem that he twirled the last time out. Overall, 4.79 ERA, a 5.09 xFIP, a little bit targetable here. Definitely explains away at least that mid-4s implied total for the Cubs. They have power upside around Michael Busch, who's been going through it this year, over 237 plate appearances, has not been the bat that he was throughout last year, but definitely still plenty of lurking power, particularly with that 13.1% barrel rate colliding with all that launch, all those barrels that Chandler's allowed. Like the upside for Busch at a cheap 3,900 on a go-to team, 3,100 at first base on FanDuel, perfectly usable. PCA, if he's leading off at 45.32, interesting bat, 6 home runs, 12 stolen bases on the season. He's up to 95 WRC plus. He's up to a 329 xWOB under that still ugly 305 actual. Long way to go, but an 8.5% barrel, a 48.6% hard hit. PCA is looking a little bit interesting again. 4,500 is I think they brought it down finally a little bit on DK. 32 is fair on FanDuel, 6.97 in the home run model. What's Pete done lately? Didn't have a great weekend, it looks like, but let's see. Go back to the... That's not particularly good. Should I just do the month of May? Yeah. Month of May, 18% strikeout, 18.8% strikeout, 11.5% walk. He's hit 3 home runs, scored 9, driven in 10, stolen 6 bases, only caught once. Slash line still ugly, though, at 200, 323, 363. A 313 weighted on base, but a 385 xWOB under the surface, so he must have hit some balls hard along the way here. 101 WRC plus. So hopefully we're getting improved version PCA. And again, especially if he's leading off, plenty of upside. Nico, entirely usable in the middle infield, especially against Bubba. A low strikeout guy that Bubba might struggle with. There's a couple spots for low strikeouts in this lineup. By Esteto so far at 19%. Dansby is up at 22%. That's actually down for him over the last couple of seasons. He draws plenty of walk, though, which might make Bubba suffer, as does this entire lineup. Seiya Suzuki, though, high strikeout rate. Ian Happ still lingering in the 30s, which is surprising for him. 22.8 last year, 25.6 the year before was a little high, 22.1 the year before that. So a big leap up to 32.9, but it's been sustained for a minute now. So a little bit of strikeout potential for Bubba Chandler going through there, but those are deadly good hitters as far as putting bat on ball with authority and drawing walks. So really just a problematic lineup for Bubba to face if he's the guy that we saw for 9 of the 10 starts that he's made this year, or just the guy who has walked a few in the last outing, even with the strikeouts. Alex Bregman for 4,000 for 2,900 on FanDuel is awfully cheap. 8.27 in the home run model for Breggy. 43.4% hard hit against a 5.7% barrel. It's about where he was last year, 6.6, 44.4, similar to the year before that one. There's been a decline over the last few years, but he's still a really usable piece. He's hitting in the heart of the lineup on a very productive team that's just on base constantly. He's got a 102 WRC plus. He's carrying a higher xWOBA than his actual 316, but the X is only a little bit above average. There's plenty here still to work with, especially low strikeout, high walk rate, so he can get on base, but he can also put the ball in play frequently, which on this squad, you're talking about the opportunity to just drive in a couple cheap runs for DFS scoring and just pad out a stack as your fifth man in, your fourth man in. So Bregman totally works. Ian Happ at 3,900 has hit the ball very, very hard for a guy who comes that cheap in the outfield. He's still 34 on FanDuel, which is the correct price. He's getting on at a 346 clip, carrying a 120 WRC plus, matching 342 weighted on base and xWOBA. Seiya Suzuki's got monster power as well, 9.45 in the home run model. He's hit 7 in 173 chances. The barrels are just down right now, 6.6%, down basically 10 percentage points from last year. Or exactly 10 percentage points. He's still 4,800, 3,200, a little cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. That price is down somewhat, but that's a terrific option from the right side to throw at Bubba Chandler for just home run hunting. It's also a player who can draw a walk, double-digit walk rate each of the last 4 years. And then at the bottom, I mentioned Dansby, but we like Dansby for his ongoing power upside. He's always hit the ball with authority, 7 home runs on the board this year. The slash line is uncharacteristically bad, but you can just ride the power. You can ride the potential to get on base via the walk and wrap back around to the top of the lineup. Miguel Amaya, more just a cheapo mix and match option. Ballesteros is probably the catcher that you want if you're going to this team for a catcher. 6 home runs in 138 chances and plenty of good batted ball events for cheap. Pirates bats against Jameson Taillon. I don't know what the... There's all sorts of things going on during this broadcast today. Joker was freaking out. Maybe he was freaking out because of the noises that I'm hearing coming from the hallway now. There were people working here earlier. They were working on the power outside earlier. If I zip out of existence, I don't know if I come back. That might have just killed my power. Who knows? So I don't know that there's much reason to discuss Jameson Taillon. 5.20 ERA, a 4.55 xFIP. Below average 20.2% strikeout rate, but that does mean that you can come out and find a 6, 7, 8 strikeout day on the right day. This Pirates team is a team that can feed that to you. 23.5% strikeout rate overall, 23.1 last year, 23.5 the year before. Against right-handed pitching, the active roster strikes out at a 22.7% clip. So there's plenty of K there. But Taillon, lower end option. 5.20 ERA, 4.55 xFIP is entirely targetable, representative of the last few seasons. 4.34 xFIP, a 3.68 ERA last year. So again, the xFIP has been consistently right in that same range. The ERA, 5.20 versus 3.68, that's the luck factor more than anything else coming into play. Similar to the year before, 3.27 ERA, but a 4.15 xFIP. Again, right in line with these. So it's a targetable pitcher. He's given up plenty of barrels this year. He's also allowed a 7.30% home run rate over 55 and a third. That's 10 starts. Yeah, that'd do it. He had a 5 home run game. That escaped me. I missed that. I didn't look through his game log. I didn't see that he gave up 5 home runs to the White Sox the other day. That was on the 16th. Oof. It's like a Tanner Bybee day. By the way, I didn't get a chance to talk about that because we weren't on the other day. That Bybee start on Monday. Guess you traded for him in the Dynasty League Sunday night. I had him in the lineup for that one. That did not work out. Hopefully he puts it back together this weekend. I think he's got I forget who he gets. No, regardless. Hopefully it goes better than the Nats. He gave up 5 home runs in that one. But Taillon gave up 5 home runs, 2 starts back. Gave up another one over 4 2/3 against the Astros in his most recent start. 1, 2, 3, 2 home run games, a 3 home run game. Be quicker to talk about the 2 games out of 10 in which he did not give up a home run. He's got 2 zeros. He's got 3 games where he gave up just 1 home run, and all the other starts he gave up more than 1, including a 5 home run day. Yikes. All of that feeds upside for guys like Spencer Harwitz, who is an underrated bat, who hits the ball consistently well, delivers average, gets on base like crazy, doesn't strike out, draws plenty of walks, should give Jameson Taillon fits here. 3,300, 2,900 at first base. We don't get the power upside that we really truly want at first base out of Harwitz, but he's capable of putting one in the seats from the left side if against a struggling version of Tyon. He's already got 6 on the board and 184 chances. That's a decent upside play for the money. Perfectly fine at first base, especially if you're stacking Pirates. Brendan Lau at 51.38 is going to be obvious. 13 home runs on the board, a monster source of left-handed power at second base over the years. Already this year, 11.71 in the home run model. He's going to be very, very popular today. Brian Reynolds at 4,000, probably going to come in less popular, and not really a good reason for that. He hasn't had a great start to his year, but 256, 379, 390 is certainly usable. Creating runs 20% better than average, matching 348 weighted on base and xwOBA, making good contact. Average-ish strikeout rate, but a 15.3% walk rate is where he's getting all that on base from. It's a really good option. Switch hitter, you're going to be batting from the left side against Tyon. Love the upside for Brian Reynolds to have a big day. 8.44 in the home run model, which has a long memory for some of his better power years. Nick Gonzalez holding down a 304, 359, 354 slash line that is mostly based on BABIP. He's been finding a lot of success with just putting lightly struck balls in play. 2% barrel, 39.5% hard hit rate, but he's been getting it done. He's going to be hitting in the middle of this projected lineup anyway. Even from like this kind of territory, he's entirely usable. He's a fairly cheap 3,600 at third base, has second base eligibility, which is where I would definitely prefer him unless I'm getting Brendan Lau, obviously, in that lineup. But there are two very different price points, so it depends on the construction. But I like him a little bit better in theory at second base than I do at third. But third base works better than shortstop for sure on FanDuel. O'Neal Cruz, a monster. 61, 4,000, the star of this team. 10.35 in the 5 spot in the projected lineup. Would probably be a slightly higher home run number if he was in the 2-3 spot. He's got 11 on the season, 17 stolen bases. He's been absolutely tremendous for DFS scoring. Love the option there. Fully priced, but worth it. And everybody else on this team is nicely affordable. Marcell Ozuna, just 3 at 2,700, is at 185, 271, 304. He does have 5 home runs, but just a 307 xwOBA under that ugly 263 actual. Just an 8% barrel, down from 11.4 last year, 15.16 the 2 years before that. 40% hard hits, or 40.7, down several points from last year, even more from the years before that. Where have you gone, Marcell? Cheap to throw darts against, again, a guy who's just given up the long ball this year. So Ozuna's on the board if he's in the lineup for sure. I doubt people roster him at anything like the frequency they roster most of those guys and Connor Griffin. So that's a cheap spot that you can potentially take advantage of for a little bit of upside. If he comes to life for one day, sees one good fat fastball over the middle from Jameson Taillon, he's still got the capability to put it in the seats. So don't write him off. I wouldn't pencil him in for the comeback either, but for any given slate, don't write him off. Connor Griffin, affordable at 43.32. Kid's been good. 12 stolen bases, 3 home runs on the board, and 195 chances. Just a 98 WRC plus. You question the 315 WOBA, the 311 xwOBA. 8.7% barrel is a decent start, though. Holding his own at the plate, 26.7% strikeout is high, but not problematically so, and presumably will come down as he finds his footing. 5.71 on the home run model. If people don't want him, I'll take him. Jake Mangum, cheap mix and match quality outfielder at best, quad A type player. Every now and then he'll put one into the gap, use his speed to turn it into a double, a triple. 6 stolen bases on the board, but just a 71 WRC plus. Just really not an interesting player, but every now and then can get frisky. Andy Rodriguez, cheap. Once upon a time, there was potential here. 25 okay plate appearances so far, 316, 480, 368, a 155 WRC plus. Needs to keep that going. Hasn't made particularly good contact, but does have a 7.7% barrel rate and what's presumably 10 batted ball events, not even. Last year, 57 pretty bad plate appearances. Truth's probably somewhere in the middle for Andy, but does have the ability to drive the ball, we think. It's Pirates Cubs, but I feel like given how explosively popular it seems like the Pirates are gonna get, especially value hunting with all the upside that they carry, they're I think 3-4 on the stacks board. I kind of the DFS hunting for the DFS angle in me wants to say Cubs, but I think the truth is Pirates, Cubs. Really, neither of the pitchers, but if you have to, it's probably Bubba. Even though they project this way, I think there's just significantly more ceiling, equal risk of downside. If you're just taking median off the board, then sure, it's Tyone at a cheaper price, or cheaper on FanDuel anyway. 68 for 6,000 for Bubba. This is actually maybe worth throwing a dart or two at if you're building a lot of lineups. But really, it's neither pitcher, given those totals. Clint Wood, what's going on? Clint Wood says, hey, all at work. Just wanted to pop in, say hello. Y'all have a great day and go win something. Love it. Just a handful of folks here watching. Lightly attended show today. It was a surprise early in the afternoon. Just kind of popped on. People will catch up through the day. What's going on over here? What is this? It's a good time to start. There's nothing on. I don't know what was playing on that TV, but looked like a weird one. Didn't want it catching my eye. So instead we put on The Fate of the Furious. Fast and the Furious 8. That won't distract me. Tigers, Casey Mize on the bump. Definitely interesting. I got to fix Hey You Lee's name. The one confirmed lineup here. I guess I could build a lookup that just has that space included. It's really annoying that they haven't fixed it. I don't know what creates it. Anyway, Jose Soriano on the mound for the Angels. Premium pitcher, one of the top options on your board, coming in with a 27.9% strikeout rate. What we love about Soriano is the ability to pitch deep into ball games. 66 and a third in his 11 starts. He's walking too many still, 10.2% walk rate. The walks have always been an issue with this pitcher. He's excellent at inducing ground balls, though, which helps him get out of any jams. He's also found the strikeout upside. He's got a blazing fastball. Is really, really good. 13.7% swinging strike rate. He's been missing bats effectively this season. Carrying a 2.44 ERA, but a slightly higher 3.20 xFIP, 3.44 SIERA, notably 17.74 strikeout minus walk. So again, some indicators that we're still going to continue to upward trajectory as far as those run numbers go as the season goes along. But he is going to continue to have terrific starts in spots. He projects out just fine today, and honestly, fine for the money. One of the top options outside of the top two. I believe he's number 3. Yeah, number 3 on your board outside of the 2 offset superstars. He's clearly your best option. Rehabbing Garrett Cole, sure, shares name brand with those guys. But I would definitely say it's fair to knock him down a couple pegs for making his second start back after being gone for a year plus. So give me some Soriano shares. There are plenty of strikeout here, 24.5% for this confirmed version of the Tigers lineup. 26.8%, 25.2 going back in time for the guys who were in the league. So very, very realistic strikeout upside. And if you're taking the long ball away from these guys, which Soriano definitely has the ability to do, as you can see, even their home run hitters, Riley Green at 5.05, not even just barely over halfway. Nobody else halfway to the magic number. 3.78 average for the top 6. Tough spot. Larry C chimes in. The Tulsa Drillers had a bat dog, and he took out a player and hurt his knee. That's a stupid way to get hurt. I hope it wasn't anybody. I mean, obviously sucks for everybody. Got to be careful what we say about these things. Sucks for that kid. Sucks for anybody in that position. But let's hope it wasn't like a big time prospect or like somebody who is like on a rehab assignment. That's important, if you get me. Yes, everybody's important. Every minor leaguer is a special snowflake. So Soriano's interesting. Casey Mize going the other way. Nice and cheap at 85, 9,400. Significant strikeout upside in this Angels lineup as well. They're carrying at 22.9%. That's kind of favorably driven by the 9.3 there on Vaughn Grissom, and then Wade Meckler sneaking into this projected lineup with that 8.3. Everybody else in this projected lineup That's a 7-man 27% strikeout rate, 26-7 for that same collection of hitters last year, 25-4 the year before. So it's a very real number. These guys do strike out. Casey Mize is coming in with a 25.1% strikeout rate, 12.2% swinging strikes on the season. Last year, that's up from 22.2. He was finding the swinging strikes, but 12.2. He's pushed that up, 5.7 on the walk rate last year, up to just 6.4 with the added strikeout. You absolutely take that uptick in walk. 18.7 strikeout minus walk rate. Last year, that was a 16.4. So he's making improvements across the board that look pretty real. He's gained 20 points in, or 0.2 of a point rather, in xFIP, 3.97 down to 3.75. Sierra matching 3.54 down from 3.96. The ERA at 2.47 probably goes back up over 3 as time goes on, but Mize is very good. He's capable of holding these numbers down throughout the season, and this is him, realizing his potential. He just missed so much time. And then, back for 20 starts in 2024 was okay. Gained ground over 28 starts on 149 innings last year, and really finally unleashing it in these 8 starts to begin this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes the year, lower mid 3s, something like that. That Sierra, a 25-ish % strikeout, I think is right in line with expectation. I think he just carries forward with some of these numbers. There'll be more home runs along the way, especially with the fly ball rate that he gives up, or with the fly balls that he gives up, an 18-degree average launch angle. But he's been good at limiting premium contact, 6.9% barrel, only 34.5% hard hits, 87.1 miles an hour of exit velo. It's been terrific at inducing weak and medium contact. So that has an impact on these Angels bats. You do have Neto and Trout still above the 10 spot. You've got Soler and Adele also lurking right there just below 10. So I don't think that the Angels can't come out here and hit a home run. Last year, Mize gave up a 3.35% home run rate on 90 miles an hour of exit velo. So there was a lot more medium contact, upper grade contact on a lesser fly ball trajectory. So now he's turned it into a little bit more launch angle, get guys to hit it up into the air a little bit more and sacrifice a little bit of the power. But if that slips against a Mike Trout, against a Jorge Soler, we know they can hit the long ball. But I like Mize's upside to find some Ks, and the price is definitely right. Even the 94 on FanDuel works well against the top of the board. So both pitchers very much in play, and I think checks on the enthusiasm for both offenses. If I'm picking, I would, despite the totals, rather take the Angels against Casey Mize, good as he's been, than take the up and down high strikeout Tigers and their reliance on the long ball. Not that the Angels don't rely on the long ball, but give me the team facing the guy who's more likely to give one up. 18-degree average launch versus 7.9 degree. Last year it was negative 2.8 degree versus 14 degrees. So demonstrable ability by Soriano to keep the ball on the ground. If you go into the Angels, Zach Neto, always in play. 4,500 feels really cheap for Neto on DraftKings. 10 home runs, 7 stolen bases, getting on base at a 341 clip. I don't really care that he's not hitting for average. He's striking out a little bit more than in seasons past, but he's basically doubled his walk rate so far this year. 346 weighted on base, but only a 329 xWOB onto the surface. The hard hit rate is down. That's noteworthy. 38.8 down from 46% last year. More in line with 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So something to watch there, but still carrying a 12.2% barrel, more than capable of putting one in the seats. Mike Trout's Mike Trout, don't overthink it. Vaughn Grissom, low strikeout, put the ball in play type right now, 233, 308, 379. If he's hitting third, that's nothing special. I greatly prefer Ozzy Peraza further down this projected version of the lineup. At 3,300, 2,600, Ozzy fills multiple positions. 277, 346, 461, a 358 weighted on base with a respectable 330 xWOB underneath it, a 128 WRC plus. He's hit 6 home runs and stolen 5 bases in limited action, mixed action. He's a utility man, backup, frequently in lineups, but not every day. Wade Meckler in between, more of a mix and match type outfielder. He's got a home run on the board in his 12 chances. Hit a couple balls hard. We've seen Meckler a couple times. Now 26. He has just that one home run in his now 76 major league plate appearances. 284, 368, 343 slash line, a 106 WRC plus in that limited action in the show. Did have 4 home runs on the board in 138 minor league plate appearances this year. That's an outlier. His previous career high as a professional was 9 home runs in 383 chances in San Francisco's minor league system a few years ago. So a little bit of an odd outburst for power from Wade Meckler, but I wouldn't expect it to continue based on anything we've seen from the player throughout. Joe Adell, very realistic power, 9.81, very cheap at 2,800, 3,600, would play. If we're going to Angels, that's a reason to go there. Donovan Walton, mix and matchy, Logan O'Hoppe, same thing, but a little power upside for cheap from O'Hoppe at 27 on DraftKings if you're already going to the Angels. Hitting 9th won't do him any favors. Colt Keith has gotten really cheap. He's slashing 289, 327, 356, carrying just a 307 weighted on base and a 306 xWOBA. Hasn't really done anything with his ability to drive the ball that we saw throughout the end of last year. Really kind of disappointing. It looked like he was going to start out well and hit for a little bit more power this year, but it really hasn't come together outside of the batting average. Just 7 RBIs is also noteworthy. He scored 20 runs. He has his filling score from time to time, but pretty light. Given RBIs aren't necessarily anything that he can control, but even via happenstance, you would think a guy hitting 289 would have more than 7 RBIs so far. Kevin McGonigal at 46-31, solid piece. He's excelling to begin his major league career, and honestly, there's not a lot of tax. 4,600 is fair. I think he's going to prove to be a $5,000 plus player as time goes on, and 3,100 is not expensive on FanDuel. Third base eligible as well on both sites. Dylan Dingler, plenty of upside for power from the catcher. He's hit 10 home runs already this year, carrying 227 ISO, 13.3% barrels, 48.9% hard hits, helping fill the power void with Kerry Carpenter out and Spencer Torkelson kind of struggling for any kind of consistency. Dylan Dingler's not consistent either, but at least you get one or the other in a lot of these games. On the days you get both, the Tigers might win. Riley Green, their most consistent bat, their major upside piece, 306, 404, 444 start to his year, 144 WRC plus, 12.8% barrel. Riley Green has been tremendous. I don't really understand why he's 4,300 on DraftKings. He's 3,000 on FanDuel. That's also cheap. But yeah, what are we really worried about here? It's not a good spot at all, but just in a vacuum, that's a really cheap price for Riley Green. I guess we're off pace with only 4 home runs, but he's doing other really interesting things. It's been interesting for fantasy, and the premium contact numbers are good. They're not where they were necessarily last year, especially the barrels. The hard hit rate is up. McKinstry's cheap for a guy who's been a useful mix and match utility guy with a bunch of position eligibility. You can easily pop him into the lineup from the left side if you're just hunting for Tigers upside. It's just kind of a misguided day to do that in general with Soriano on the mound. But McKinstry's a usable piece. Torque, you're just hunting for power upside. It would probably come against the bullpen rather than against Soriano. But he would be one of their more significant home run potential bats if you got him into that situation. When Seal Perez, we can succeed with from time to time, really going through it at the beginning of the season. 129 really bad plate appearances with a 38 WRC plus. Gage Workman, some good batted ball events over his 34 plate appearances, has a pair of home runs and basically nothing else. Does have an interesting 332 xWOBA in the limited action so far. Mix and matchy, and Hey Yuli's stats aren't coming through, but I don't believe they're anything special. I'll look them up. We did this the other day. No, wrong Lee. Yeah, 206, 250, 324 with a 59 WRC plus over his 72 plate appearances. So, yeah, mix and match at best in a terrible spot for the team. Greatly lead pitching in this one. Soriano by a nose. Casey Mize just next to him. The projections are close. If we're factoring in price, if we're factoring in popularity, probably does lead me pretty frequently to Casey Mize instead of Soriano. I will say that much. But on quality and probably on ceiling as well, I do think Soriano over Casey Mize through that lens. And then going the other way, probably, as I said before, Angels bats above the Tigers bats, even though the Vegas totals have it the other way around. Neither team standing out for Vegas quality at all. Both of these lineups are in. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as we're nearing the halfway point. Oh, shit. Dustin May was no-hitting the Brewers into the 8th. He's been quietly decent. He's worth looking at if you're in a season-long league, dynasty. Still young, too, dynasty type opportunity. Meach, I think this is what, the fifth game? You missed a few. Yeah, fourth game. If you rewind and put it on twice speed, you can catch up in a hurry. And remember, I do the wind up, then I do the pitching board, so there's some repetition in there. You can cut through it. Antonio likes Soriano for a 40-plus day. Yeah, I like that idea. You've got, just some shaved points in here for, win potential, quality start potential, but it's not like rewarding a full 6 points, full 4 points. So definitely, with considering the bonuses, he's essentially at a 40. So yeah, I like that call quite a bit. Bryce Elder, again, pitching over his head. 1.97 ERA. There's nothing real about that. 3.71 xFIP, 3.86 Sierra. Even that, in my opinion, maybe pitching a little bit over his head, but those are your realistic numbers, approaching a 4. Last year, he was at a 5.30 ERA with a 4.04 xFIP, 4.29 Sierra over 28 starts, 156 and a third. This is who Bryce Elder's been. 10 starts the year before that was, relatively successful with a 3.95. Well, should have been more successful, I should say. 6.52 ERA, but a 3.95 xFIP. So should have been more successful. But again, that's around a 4 on the run number. Or 4.50 the year before that against a 3.81 ERA. Both kind of around 4. So we're talking about a 4-run pitcher, not a sub-2-run pitcher. He doesn't come with a ton of strikeout upside. He's carrying a 22%, right around league average this year. Last year it was 19.3, year before 20.4. So he's pushed it up somewhat this year. It comes on slightly more swinging strike. As I mentioned the last time he pitched, supposedly worked with Greg Maddux, talked to Greg Maddux, who told him the secret of being a control command pitcher, and he's making it work. Maybe it continues, but right now he's defying his underlying numbers. What he's been good at is limiting premium contact, light hard hit, light exit velo, very low barrel rate so far, just a 1.83% home run rate. Last year, 3.5. on 90 miles an hour of exit velo, 43.8% hard hits. Similarly low launch angle, actually a lower launch angle, more barrels overall. So kind of a mixed bag if you're putting the 2 years together as far as where that contact lands. But it doesn't exactly push the Red Sox up the board for power upside. They're not exactly loaded with thunder in the lineup this year anyway. 4.12 implied total on their side. I think they're usable, but I think Bryce Elder, much as he's pitching over his head, probably also a little bit usable at least. What he's not going to do is give you a huge strikeout total. At 8,700, I don't love him as an SP1, and I don't know that he's cheap enough to be an SP2. So it's more usable in a baseball sense. Wouldn't surprise me if he had an okay day, but it's probably a DFS misstep at the 87. And at 99 on FanDuel, it's almost definitely a DFS misstep on this deep a slate. There's pitching galore. There's pitching up and down at every price point you could want. I don't see why you would go to Bryce Elder in Fenway against a good enough Red Sox team pulling a 4.12 implied total. But again, he has made it work. 68 2/3. He's also pitching fairly deep into games. Last time out, 6 innings of 1-run ball, 5 hits against the Nats, struck out 4, give up a solo shot, but who cares? 3 strikeouts, a home run, 3 earned runs on 7 hits, but went 8 innings against these Red Sox the last time, the start before that. 5 2/3 of shutout ball, 1 hit the Dodgers over 5 2/3, 8 strikeout game. Had a 9 strikeout day against the Mariners, 2 earned runs in 6 innings. Walked 3 in that game. That was the one blemish really. 2 earned runs, a home run allowed, but again, 9 Ks for Bryce Elder is wild. It doesn't really surprise me against the Mariners, but 8 against the Dodgers is at least somewhat surprising. He had another 8 strikeout day earlier in the season against the Diamondbacks. 7 strikeouts against the Marlins is not crazy. 6 against the Nats. Diminished in the last 2 against these Red Sox and against the Nats, just 3 and 4 over 14 combined innings. But again, 4 earned runs combined on 12 total hits. He's been effective. Conley Early's also been effective. 22.1% strikeout rate, slightly outdoing his opponent over 10 starts, 54 innings. 3.33 ERA with a 4.21 xFIP, 4.02 Sierra. The kid's good, just really finding his footing in the show. Had a bumpy one the last time out. Got through 6 1/3 against Kansas City, gave up 3 earned runs on 6 hits, struck out just 5, Walked just one, but gave up 2 home runs. Some of the downside came there. Had another 2 home run start against Atlanta the start before that. Struck out 6, walked 0 in that game. Those were the only 2 runs, 5 hits over 5 innings. Was spectacular against a very good Rays team the outing before that one, though. 4 hits, no runs over 7 innings, 8 strikeouts. That was his best start. But he's had effective days. Couple bumps in the road, but overall, Connolly Early's been good. And in a cup of coffee last year over 4 starts, 19 and a third, he showed us a 36.7% strikeout rate in that limited action against just 5.1% walks at the major league level last year. Induced a 16.1% swinging strike rate. That's down right now at just 9.1. This is probably closer to the real version in the long term. But I do think there's more strikeout potential as time goes on. This Braves team can give you a little strikeout bump. 23.4% for the for this confirmed lineup. 22.9, 21.4 for those players the last couple of years, more around the league average. But there's a little bit of K potential there. And Early, good enough to get through them. They are showing plenty of potential for home run power, though. He's allowed around a 4% home run rate. We're over the line there, and there. So alarming contact being allowed. That's feeding upside for Braves power. I think he does give up a home run. It just comes down to, is it 1 home run or is it 2? And how many guys are on base when they happen? That's probably where your downside comes from. The Braves are under a 4-run total, though. I think it puts Early on the board at 8 on DraftKings for sure. 91 on FanDuel, debatable on such a deep slate. If you're building a bunch of lineups, yeah, you'll have some. You should. If you're building 5, 10, even 20. If you're building 20 for a 150 max massive field GPP, I don't think you need him. If you're building 20 for a 20 max, then I think you should have some. If that makes sense. Braves bats definitely in play, given the 3 guys above the magic number, another couple guys hovering around it. Ronald Acuna Jr. going to get it going at some point. 240, 353, 351, a 104 WRC plus. The gonna get it going is definitely indicated by that 366 xWOBA under the 321 actual, 12.1% barrel, and the name Ronald Acuna on the back of his jersey, or at least Acuna. Mauricio Dubon at 33-28, 3 home runs. I think we've seen the best of Mauricio Dubon's season already. 259, 313, 389. He's already come back down. 98 WRC plus at 297 xWOBA under the 313, already below average actual. Again, we already saw the best part of his season. He's awfully cheap, though. Mix and match piece, hitting second in a lineup that looks very playable. He fills multiple positions on both sides. Wouldn't shock me if I end up with some Mauricio Dubon shares today. Matty Olson is a go-to option, having a monster year. 15 home runs on the board, getting on base at a great clip. 147 WRC plus on the season, carrying a 15.8% barrel. A lot of thunder from the left side. I'm not worried about Matt Olson in basically any lefty-lefty situation. Ozzie Albies cheap at 43.32. We continue to monitor Albies xWOBA, 298. Under the 329 actual. The actual hovering just above average, the xWOBA concerningly below. Not exactly making great contact. That's down even for him from his good years. Even in the good years, he didn't make outrageously good contact, but it was better than this. He is low strikeout, medium walk rate. He'll be on base. He'll keep putting things in play. But there are some pretty reliable indicators that Albies has this return to form has been more of an illusion than we might want to think. 109 WRC plus, fills second base at a good price, though. Heart of a go-to lineup. Nothing wrong with Ozzie Albies shares today. Austin Riley at 42.31 has an 11.85 in the home run model. Don't sleep on Austin Riley. 10.6% barrel, 46% hard hits. The pieces are here. 8 home runs on the board. Slowly but surely clawing his way to relevance. Has a long way to go to get back to the former contact numbers, but the pieces are here and they've been going up. Michael Harris has just been good all season. 12 home runs on the board, over 193 outrageously good plate appearances. He's carrying a 390 xWOBA under the 376 actual. So his actual spectacular at 376, and the xWOBA is even higher. He's made great contact, 16.2% barrels, 56.1% hard hits. It's the best version of him, I think, that we've ever seen. Don't change a thing. 4,000, I don't really get. 3,100 with the sites reacting the way they are to everybody else's hot and cold starts. Mikey Harris has just remained very affordable in the outfield for the Braves. So easy go-to piece there. And then You get some same in Jorge Mateo and Ha-Seong Kim. Those guys do very similar type things on the field. I would want one or the other, which is forced by DraftKings. You can have both on FanDuel, but I don't think you want that. Between the two, Kim is probably the better overall, more reliable player. Has been awful in his 43 plate appearances this year, and it's been a minute since he's been that reliable guy. He's been very injured the last couple seasons. Jorge Mateo has also been in and out of major league lineups basically throughout his career. But Kim probably has the more stable, neutral environment, 600 plate appearances season, where Mateo maybe gives you a slightly higher ceiling and is currently performing better. 2 home runs, 6 stolen bases. You're not looking to him for power, but getting on base and swiping a few bags with 10 to 12 home run type power in a full season is about Jorge Mateo. Chadwick Trump just holding down a spot at the bottom of the lineup, kind of mix and matchy for 2,100. If you're going to the Braves heavily, maybe you can get into a few, but that's not a big-time piece. Speaking of not big-time, I give you the entire bottom third of the Red Sox lineup. I guess Mickey Gasper's been okay, 106 WRC plus, but a 297 xWOBA under the 330 actual kind of betrays him already. It's just 43 plate appearances. He's at 325, 357, 375. He hit 2 home runs, stole 2 bags in 110 plate appearances last year in the show, but slashed 158, 257, 232. In the minors, he had 10 home runs in 208 chances at AAA last year with Minnesota's organization. Had a dozen over 380 chances from AA to AAA as a 28-year-old with back with Boston 2 years ago in 2024. Slash 328, 439, 531 that season. Was very good in the minors, but again, part season at AA, part of season at AAA as a 28-year-old, you're kind of aged up and never showed that kind of quality in any other stop, really. So at best, I think a mix and match type catcher for 32 over there. 23 over here with second base eligibility is kind of interesting. That's probably where I would favor him the most because catcher doesn't matter on first base, obviously. If you had DraftKings second base eligibility, that would be interesting. But the next 3 guys all do. Sogard, Mayer, IKF. I think Mayer's your most interesting bat down there. Just some demonstrable ability to drive the ball that the other 2 guys haven't really flashed. The other guys more contact-oriented, singles hitters, not overly interesting for DFS. You want one of those guys down from the bottom of the lineup there. At least you get some cheap positional flexibility over here. So whoever works, but you don't want more than one in any given lineup. Even on the 5-man site, you save a little bit of money if you're going like, Gasper Mayer. Arguably, that would be the way to do it. Right? Take the cheap catcher, take the cheap second baseman, and then, obvious. And honestly, if we're going cheap, then might as well go Rafaela at 33 instead of Duran at 44, even though I think Duran is the far better player. That puts a 5-man at just 34.80 a piece for the Red Sox. That isn't bad to target Bryce Elder with if you get anything like previous year's Bryce Elder. It's very, very cheap to go Sox and do it that way. So I think that is probably a justifiable grabbing 2 of those bottom end guys construction on DraftKings. It's a lot less justifiable on FanDuel. Elder's overpriced. Where are these teams on the stacks board? All right, Atlanta grades out okay. Yeah, given that power upside. All right, we'll do it that way. Atlanta, Boston, Atlanta bats. Atlanta bats, Boston bats, Bryce Elder on DraftKings. Connolly early on both sites, Bryce Elder on FanDuel. Given the essentially 2-point difference for $800 with plenty of strikeout going in early's direction, for that salary difference on FanDuel, I think that makes that a correct statement. All 4 things in this game are in play, though. Any one of these four pieces is not problematic. Going back to the stacks board real quick, I'll grab it. I'll show it off. This is not today's. This is today's. So the Braves are right in here. Tucked in 6 by points, 5th by value on both sides, but 3rd by home run upside against early. So kind of not a bad option from the 8th Vegas total. Maybe they sneak through it. A little bit lighter ownership than you would think on Acuna. Maybe Olsen lefty gets a little bit lighter owned. And then on the Red Sox side, where I think they get really interesting, what I was just showing off, 2nd rated by value on DraftKings. 6th on FanDuel is entirely usable, but again, only 4 bites at the apple. They're going to be everybody going to the Sox is going to grab the 3 out of the 4 obvious guys. But that 2 for value, especially the way we were just looking at it, is kind of interesting on DK. So I think that puts the Sox on the board from the middle of the board. There's your stacked board, your home run rankings, and all of it. Reds and the Mets. Let's see what lineups we got in. Taking our sweet time getting through today. That's why we started early. Missed a couple days there with the holiday, and then yesterday just kind of got away from me. I wanted to start early and have the time and just meander through this one. Talk about as much as possible. How you guys doing out there? Mark Curry says, we're not a good enough Sox team. Terry, we suck. We're the worst. Is that a little self-flagellation, hoping that it pays off for the team there? Or you honestly think that they're off? I think they're better. They're better than they've been, but I don't think they're good enough for where they need to be, obviously. And some, obviously some disappointing seasons, some missing pieces. Early is good. Starting early is good. Connolly early is good. Connolly early starting is good. Let's just hope he pays off. But we started the show 2:30 today. Just got had everything done. Just instead of sitting here for another hour and a half, clicking around on YouTube, doing nothing, I figured I might as well jump on. Eric Wagaman appears to be missing from your DraftKings slate. They might have added him. If they did, I'll catch it when I update lineups in a little bit. Not an overly important piece, but we want to have him if he's there. He looks playable on FanDuel if you're going to the Mets. They have a 4.13 implied total against a super gettable Andrew Abbott. Abbott comes in with a 15.4% strikeout rate against 10.5% walks. That is not a good combination. 4.86 strikeout minus walk rate is unsustainably bad. Pays off the 4.88 xFIP, the 5.09 Sierra that we're seeing. 3.97 ERA. He's lucky to be as good as that. Has been limiting premium contact somewhat effectively. 6% barrel, 36% hard hits, 89 miles an hour of exit velo. Not problematic there. Makes that home run number make sense. He does give up the fly ball, but it's not particularly well struck. Same thing was basically true last year. Limits hard hits, limits exit velo. Barrel rate is fine, but the launch angle is fairly extreme. I'm not going to worry about what color that is right now. Going back in time, this year the home run balls got away from him, but it was the same equation, right? A few barrels, too many that season, kind of jibes with the home run number going up, but not by that extreme of a difference. This is just the happenstance, the wonkiness of home runs, because look at the hard hit rate. Look at the exit velo over those 25 starts, 33%, 88.2. It's right in line with these numbers. So just a little happenstance went against him that year, but that's your any given slate. That's your, Mark Vientos carrying a decent number. Juan Soto, Jorge Soto too. If there was a Jorge Soto in this lineup, he'd also have a little bit of upside. Juan Soto coming in with a 13.37 in the home run model. So plenty of upside for power, even though Abbott can take that down a notch. I think he has a little bit of an impact on most of the other guys. But the Mets have a improving lineup with a little bit of upside, some guys that can fill multiple categories. We know there's some weak points for sure, but I think they're very usable here. I think they're much more usable than anything Abbott's going to give you. Even though he projects out kind of in line with some of those mid-board types, I don't think there's enough here to actually get there as often as you would need him to. At 63 on DraftKings, you're really taking your life in your hands with that play, but it's there. He is very, very cheap over there. Last time out did give us 5 1/3, just 3 strikeouts and 3 walks, but it was 1-run ball on 3 hits. That was against the Phillies at Philly. Comparable type team on the road. So you get that kind of a day for 63. That can work as an SP2. That's basically your upside, though. That's what you're hunting for. So understand what you're doing if you go there. Jonah Tong just went 3 the last time he was in this role. That was the other day against Miami. I think you're just seeing Tong for 3, maybe 4, following Huascar Brazovan, rather. And I don't think he's got the upside at these prices, particularly when you've got 2 guys on the slate for 4,000 who are probably going to pitch the same 4 innings. The Reds have been interesting this year. There's plenty of useful pieces in this lineup. I like the lefty power that J.J. Bleday has provided. 7 early home runs and 111 chances. He was on fire for a stretch there. Carrying a 419 weighted on base with a 411X. 13.5% barrel in the best stretch of his career so far, but sustaining it right now. 166 WRC plus over growing sample. 5,300, 3,700 is crazy high. I would have called you nuts if you had told me J.J. Bleday was going to cost that before the beginning of June at the beginning of this season, but there he is. Ellie De La Cruz at 39-41 has a dozen home runs, 9 stolen bases, a great season so far. 138 WRC plus, just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He's spectacular out there. Blake Dunn is interesting, 3,400, 2,800. He's slashing 311, 384, 67, carrying 136 WRC plus. Doesn't come on great contact. That has an impact on that xWOB at 295, way below average, and certainly almost 100 points below that 376 actual. We expect him to come down, but I do think there's a little bit of ability to put bat on ball there. It's going to come and go as far as how he actually strikes it, but just getting to first base ahead of Ellie, ahead of J.J. Bleday, Sal Stewart, certainly. There's upside in that. Sal has 12 home runs, 10 stolen bases, slowed down for a period of time there, but still carrying a good barrel rate for the season, still carrying a 352 on base, a 126 WRC plus. Monster upside, 47 has gotten a little bit cheaper on DK. 4,000 holding strong, but fits in at third base on FanDuel. What I don't like is that he collides with Junior Suarez, so you got to put the util spot into play if you want them both. That's fine, because those are 2 big-time bats, but it's less than ideal as far as construction goes. Gino in 113 plate appearances, 3 home runs, had an okay day the other day, but just getting his timing back, coming back to the lineup from the injured list. The only guy in the lineup, though, with a 10-plus in the home run model at 10.04. The power's going to come as long as he gets regular opportunities, which he will now that he's healthy. Nathaniel Lowe, decent season, 272, 346, 561 from a guy we weren't really expecting anything from this year, a 148 WRC plus. We've seen good stretches from Nathaniel Lowe in the past, and then we've seen him crater. Typically, either the power and the power goes, or the on base and the average go. And in the last couple of years, both of them went. Right now, he looks good. In another month, he might look really bad, but you're not paying any kind of tax for the success. 3,600, 2,900, nice and affordable. If you're going to Reds already, might as well take some shares of the lefty. That's a very useful option at first base. Spencer Steer, 5.80 in the home run model. He was the pick from the Reds. 13.2% barrel rate. He's hit 7 on the season. He's been interesting, getting on at a 340 clip, 115 WRC plus, sub 20% strikeout against 8.7% walks. That's useful. Stevenson's always in play as a catcher who does have power. Solid double-digit barrel rates this year so far, and all of last year, 14.4. Solid 43 and change % hard hit rates the couple years before that with decent home run totals. He's hit 4 on 153 chances for a $2,900 catcher on a team if you're already going there. Perfectly fine and in play. And honestly, I'd prefer it like up here somewhere. There's probably better options. But somebody to at least keep in mind just for a one-off catcher share. If you're at, I've only got 3,000 left. Who can I use? Tyler Stevenson for 29. TJ Friedel, mix and match guy, can fill categories as far as moderate 12 home run, maybe 15 home run in a full season type power, 5 stolen bases. Poor slash line so far this year. Last year he hit 14 and stole 12 bases as if to prove the point. Entirely useful, but only a mix and match guy. Really just another outfielder, but cheap. On the Mets side, Carson Bench, 29, 37, nice and cheap as well. 3 home runs, and up and down start to his career, over 199 plate appearances. Came out of spring training scorching hot, went into the tank for the better part of a month and a half, almost 2 months, and then kind of surged a little bit, got back on the board, got back to the top of the lineup. He's still cheap. He's useful up there ahead of Bo Bichette, Juan Soto, Mark Vientos, the bats that we really want to get to if we're going to this team. Bichette, 41-27, cheap way to fill shortstop on DK. I like him at third base even more for 27 on FanDuel. He's hit 5 home runs. Just a 268 weighted on base, but up to a 322 xWOB under the surface. That's a little right around average, I should say. Slightly, maybe a hundredth of a point above. Just a 71 WRC plus, but is hitting the ball squarely. Similar to last year, lighter hard hit rate, but not way off the mark as far as that goes. Striking out a little bit more, but still 17.4. That's still elite. Walking right around the same rate. There's not a lot going on different than Bo Bichette was last year outside of a little bit of a dip in hard hit rate. You can see it come back like that. Soto, you just fire away anytime you're going to the Mets. 11 home runs, a 165 WRC plus. He's ridiculous. Mark Vientos, 3,200 over here. 26 over here with third base eligibility, by the way. 6 home runs. That would be a reason to play Bichette at short so that you can put Vientos at third and still grab a primo first baseman from another squad. Little back and forth as far as that positioning goes. No issues, third base, first base also. Because Vientos does have the realistic power upside. 9.9% barrel, 47.3% hard hits, 8.5% in the home run model. He's hit 6 on the season, kind of a lackluster start. Just a 288 WOBA, but a 330 xWOBA under the surface. And great premium contact that is entirely in line with who he's been throughout the few seasons that we've had him. That's a good bat for awfully, awfully cheap in the middle of this lineup. Marcus Semion's been terrible this year. 216, 264, 312, a 259 WOBA with a 304 xWOBA underneath it. They need a better option. AJ Ewing, 35, 29. Really interesting debut. Pretty good over 58 plate appearances now. 271, 375, 375. Getting on base, stealing bases. That's the nature of his game. He's also hit the ball pretty squarely. That's an interesting piece, drawing a lot of walks in the 58 plate appearances. Wagaman, we know, just a mix and match type guy. Brett Beatty makes interesting enough contact, though. He's awfully cheap at 34, 26 on FanDuel with second base eligibility. Every position eligible except for shortstop and catcher, it looks like. 3 home runs in a slow start, 235, 311, 352. He's a more interesting hitter than that. I think he figures it out as we go along. Drawing nearly a 10% walk rate, which is up from previous seasons. 8.8% barrels is down, but last year it was 12.8 against a 46.7% hard hit. That was in 432 plate appearances. He hit 18 home runs. I think we at least get that guy back for a stretch this year. Luis Torrens, just a mix and match catcher. Mets bats? Reds bats? Not all that far behind. Mets 8th by points, but 4th by value, 8th by points, but 3 by value on DK. Just a little limitation there with the 11 against that's reflecting Abbott, the ability that we talked about to keep the ball in the yard. And then Cincinnati, the next spot down, but a little expensive. They're not showing the value upside. And that kind of makes sense now that I'm looking at those prices again. So yeah, give me Mets, Reds. Really wouldn't be that interested in pitching, but it's got to be Abbott over the opener follower situation, even though Tong probably a better pitcher in the long term than Abbott. Just in the Discord, somebody was saying, thanks, Brewers announcer who kept saying no hitter before every batter since inning 6. The old jinx. Twins 404 implied total matching on the other side with the White Sox. It's David Sandlin. It's Connor Prelip. Sandlin, as we broke down in the intro, hasn't gone more than 4 in any of his minor league appearances so far. He does have 6 appearances down on the farm. Pitched to a 0.55 ERA with 26 strikeouts across 74 hitters. So finding plenty of success. Again, it equals a 32.7% strikeout rate, but he's also walked 11.5% of that handful of hitters. 0.75 ERA, 0.55, but a 3.59 xFIP in the minor league sample. There's talent here. He got the call because Schultz went to the IL at 4,000, even in 4 innings. As I said before, if you're looking to just put 8 to 12 points in your lineup, I think you're okay at 4,000. You obviously need to drill the bats and get your SP1 very right. But that play is there. You're not getting ceiling with it. But for 4, I think, if you can get him to 12, definitely. What you're not getting probably is the 5 in the 5th inning. You're not getting probably the win bonus or anything like that. I think he's entirely off the board at 61 on FanDuel. 4 innings just not going to give you enough. Prelip on the other side, striking out even after the messy one the last time out, striking out 24.4% of hitters. He's walking too many at 9.8%. That's part of his problem. 4.03 ERA, 4.33 xFIP, 3.98 SIERA. The truth is right around that 4-run pitcher. He's allowed a little bit of premium contact in terms of barrels on a solid launch angle, but limiting hard hits, exit velo kind of caught in the middle, 3.25% home run rate, probably pretty real, but does have good stuff. Has some really good pitches that are interesting. The potential to really make things work and develop into a frontline starter. So I'm interested in the lefty for 75 against a White Sox squad that's gettable. 25.3% strikeout rate against lefties collectively for the active roster. This group of hitters against everybody, 23.6% strikeout rate with some targetable guys, but obviously some high danger lefties in Munetaka Murakami and Kosa Montgomery. So he's going to have to be nimble getting through those guys, but there's Ks available for him here. Really only Miguel Vargas among the threatening hitters has a low strikeout rate. All the other guys, even Chase Meadroth is 23.1%. Really, his game's supposed to be limiting strikeouts, putting balls in play, succeeding via BABIP. Right now, he hasn't been that guy. He's been good, 105 WRC+, but he's striking out more than expected. Everybody else going down all the way until you get to Sam Antonacci at a realistically low 14%, and Luis Angel at a realistic 18%, but also an incredibly non-threatening one. Everybody else strikes out quite a bit. So I'll go back to the well with Prelip. He's only 82 on FanDuel. We saw him get through 6 once. He's gotten through 5 numerous times. Prior to last time out, the 5 runs, the 7 hits, 5 runs on 7 hits against the Red Sox over 4 innings. Prior to that, he hadn't given up more than 2 runs in any of his 5 starts. Had an 8 strikeout day over 6 against the Brewers. 6 strikeouts, 4 unearned runs, 1 earned run on 4 hits over 5 against Cleveland. 4 strikeout day against the Blue Jays, a 5 strikeout day against the Mariners, a 6 strikeout day over 4 innings against the Mets. Okay, upside is there. I like the potential. I think he's very cheap and quite interesting. 7,500 SP2 on DraftKings, 8,200 for some shots on FanDuel. That'll make things work in your lineup where people can't reach with Ohtani or not Ohtani. Who the hell? Jacob deGrom, Jose Soriano, the other expensive pitchers. I think Twins bats are in play against the rookie, and I would say that White Sox bats, especially if you're taking some shares of Prelip, probably also a good idea. At least 1 or 2 hedge stacks. The Twins is just a 404 implied total, though, or both teams just 404 implied total. Not exactly screaming off the board. Byron Buxton's a big part of plans if you're going to Minnesota, though. 16 home runs, a monster season. We just want him in the lineup. Knock on wood, as always. 213 plate appearances and counting. That's what we want to see. Everything else will be there when you need it. Brooks Lee, 37-28. An up and down start to his year. 6 home runs, 3 stolen bases. I think had a good day yesterday. Cheap. Mix and match piece at worst across multiple positions and key positions at that. Very usable piece. 41-28 for Trevor Larnach. Light contact this year, uncharacteristically low contact. He doesn't make elite level contact, but solid 45% hard hit rates in the last 2 years. Got to a 10.1% barrel, 13.3% 2 and 3 years ago. Last 2 seasons, the barrels have been down. He's found some success this year, though. Over 151 chances. He's a 276, 391, 402, a 128 WRC plus. Just kind of lacking the long ball. But if we get the right swing for 41, for 28 in the outfield, that works. Big lefty. Cody Clemens, another monster lefty. 13.1% barrel, the ability to hit the ball out of any park. 4 home runs on the board, 5 stolen bases, otherwise pretty poor slash line. Does have a 103 WRC plus, just a 323 XWOB under the 321 actual. Is what he is. Right? You're just hunting for the big piece of contact with Cody Clemens. You can move him around different positions. Outfield is probably where you want him on DK at 33. Second, third, or outfield for 26 on FanDuel totally works. You can move him to first base, though, depending on what you're putting them together with, obviously. But I like him through those more thin or the multiple spots position. Austin Martin, Victor Caratini, Luke Keeschel, James Outman, there's playability through all of those guys. Austin Martin at 46 isn't correctly priced. 288, 393, 390. He's been good over 173 plate appearances, but he doesn't create big fantasy events by and large. So that's a little bit of an oddball price. A little better fit at 28 on FanDuel. Caratini's got the ability to drive the ball. Pretty bad season over 149 chances, but he's gotten nice and cheap again, especially where you need catchers on DK. Tristan Gray for the contact upside is a little bit interesting. 10% barrel, double-digit barrel rate in a small sample last year. 3 home runs and just 88 plate appearances this season. The ability to drive the ball from the left side at third base for that cheap of a price against this rookie righty could get Tristan Gray on the board at low ownership shares. You also get a lot of strikeout and a lot of zero out of Tristan Gray. So know what you're buying, but that's a really cheap price. Second base eligibility for 26 on FanDuel is kind of interesting as well. Luke Keeschel hasn't given us anywhere near the season we thought we were getting. He's somehow still 4,000 on DK, 27 on FanDuel. I believe in the talent, but right now over 209 plate appearances, difficult to see. 78 WRC plus, concerning 282 XWOBA by next to that 284 actual. And then Outman, as we've talked about, very successful 3 seasons back for the Dodgers, missing in action the last couple with injuries. Hasn't done anything with 66 chances this year. I'm still interested. I just want to see if I can get any of these barrels back from a few years ago. Had the ability to hit home runs and steal bases. Very, very cheap at the bottom of the Twins lineup. On the White Sox side, as mentioned, Chase Meadroth, 269, 341, 378. He's getting on base. 10% walk rate, but the strikeouts are surprisingly high. 105 WRC plus, though, you're just not going to get him on ahead of Murakami, ahead of Vargas, ahead of Colson Montgomery. Against the lefty, Randall Grichuk is very much in play. Grichuk was made to mash left-handed pitching from the right side. He's carrying a 15% barrel, 18% barrel, 47.7% hard hit over 62 plate appearances. That's not crazy uncharacteristic. I mean, it's skewed high from the small sample, but he was 11+% barrels the last 2 seasons, 49.5% and 47.6% hard hits. Randall Grichuk, multiple seasons over 20 home runs. I believe a season over 30 home runs in the show. He's coming back down the other side of the mountain now, but he's very cheap in the middle of the lineup, hitting cleanup between these guys. Love that option. And people will go to him less. He'll be on the board among people that roster White Sox, but people will go to him less than they ought to. Monty struggles, I believe, against lefties. If memory serves, we looked him up the other day, but does have plenty of power upside. If we chase Prelip out of this one, there's going to be major upside late in the game. Wouldn't be building many White Sox lineups that don't have Colson Montgomery. Easy way to fill shortstop. Edgar Queto, Derek Hill, Luis Angel, all mix and matchy type options for cheap salaries, but really not major contributors. Hill has had a few good games along the way, couple good pieces of contact, 112 WRC plus over 68 chances. The interesting guy down lineup, Sam Antonacci, despite a lefty, 3,900, 2,800. He's sat against a few lefties, but he's also been in some games against lefties. Overall, just finding success, 271, 374, 373, a 118 WRC plus, 383 XWOBA under a very good 343 actual to start his career, barreling the ball with consistency, low strikeout, low walk rate, putting a lot of well-struck balls in play. That's a really interesting option with speed upside as well. 7 stolen bases already. Very interesting guy to consider for a wraparound share back up to the top up here. If you're building on DK, 39 there. Take both. Whoops. Try that again. Like that. We're skipping Miguel Vargas there at 49. You can take or leave Vargas. He's having a very solid season with 12 home runs on the board, carrying a 392 XWOBA as well under the surface. He's got a 14.8% walk rate against a nothing strikeout rate. He has been the idealized version of Miguel Vargas. But if I'm looking to build and include Antonacci from down there, Chase Meadroth from up here, get 2 guys leading off and going for that cheap angle, give me a little bit more cheap with the same or better power upside from the right side by going to Grichuk over Vargas. And I go outfield. That gives me also the opportunity probably to put Colson Montgomery at third rather than Vargas and rather than Montgomery at short, which I think is an interesting way to build with this team. And you're only spending 4,060, so 4,100 a man across the 5-man for that group. That's interesting. Puts the White Sox on the board. They only rate out as, where were they? 14, 11, 15th, 10th by Vegas total. Model's giving a little bit of love toward Connor Prelip here. Minnesota on the other side, only ranked a couple spots above them on FanDuel. That's also one that plays differently across sites. 11-11 on FanDuel, 12 by points, but 15 by value on DraftKings for Minnesota. With that in mind, I will say Connor Prelip, White Sox bats, Twins bats, $4,000 David Sandlin shares. They're just darts for 8 to 12 points at best for 4,000 on DK. Wouldn't play them on FanDuel. Two left for FanDuel, three left for DraftKings. We'll get to that launching pad Dodgers game in a minute. Let's talk Yanks and Royals. Garrett Cole making his second start back, and DraftKings did you a favor pricing him at 8,300. That's a little silly. One of the best pitchers on the planet. Had a mediocre outing in his first start outside of the fact that he got through 6 innings without giving up a run in real life. But under the surface, 6.23 ERA for that game, a 7.11 Sierra for that game. Didn't give up a barrel, just 86.8 mile an hour exit velocity average. A lot of fly balls. That's the nature of Garrett Cole's game. Didn't find any strikeout and walked a few too many guys. 9.1% strikeout. Obviously, we should just use the whole numbers on that. I don't know why I'm talking percentages for one start. It was 2 strikeouts and 3 walks to the 22 hitters that he faced, but threw plenty of pitches, got through 6 innings, shut out the Rays over 6 innings. There's plenty to like about that, especially at 83, knowing the levels that Garrett Cole is very likely to get back to. What he's always done is given up the here and there home runs, the here and there just long fly balls based on how many fly balls he allows. But he's a premium strikeout pitcher. A lot of probability to shut down this Royals team, or at least check them down below 4 runs, post a quality start on FanDuel where that matters. Has the upside for 6. The Royals are striking out a little bit more this season. They're kind of in the tank as far as performance overall around Vinny Pasquantino, Sal Perez, who at least is hitting for power again. He's up to 9 home runs, but continues to struggle overall. Carter Jensen has been kind of missing in action for the better part of a few weeks. So it's a scuffling Royal squad. All the more reason to throw Garrett Cole into the mix. We saw the Yankees utterly explode yesterday. They could come back, do the same thing. 4.69 implied total. They were above 5 earlier in the day. Might go back there if that half run comes back on the board against Noah Cameron. He comes in at 73, 78. He's carrying a 21% strikeout rate against 7.6% walks. He's adequate. 405 xFIP under that ugly 4.72 ERA. Just a 93.5 stuff plus rating though. Only 1 above average pitch. Not ideal. A lot of barrels, a lot of launch angle. We are over the line, and over the line on an average, pretty significant fly ball launch angle. Only 2.38% home runs so far this season. Last year, he kind of got away with it as well, but it was a lot better. 6.3% barrel, 37.4% hard hit, 87.8 miles an hour. Actually, I said got away with it, but that is arguably right in line or maybe a little high with that contact. But this season, getting through, but allowing a ton of premium contact, that is not good against these Yankees. Only Aaron Judge above the magic number, but way above. You've got Trent Grisham right there, Belly right there, Ben Rice right there, Jazzy right there. So plenty of power upside lurking for the Yankees, and potentially more to come. I don't really worry about the lefty. They could throw guys like Amed Rosario, who had a monster game yesterday, into the mix from the right side. Paul Goldschmidt finds tons and tons of success against lefties. And the lefties they have, Cody Bellinger, tremendous against same-handed pitching. The other guys up and down a little bit more, but no problems really, and not against a middle-of-the-road lefty like Noah Cameron. So plenty of reason to go Yankees. Plenty of reason to go Yankees. I almost knocked my phone off the table. Starting up top with Trent, 35-32, 7 home runs on the board, a 102 WRC plus. We're at least above average there. Still carrying a 342 xWOBA, 15% walks against an 18.4% strikeout. All the contact you could want. This was his breakout year. He's got the exact same hard hit rate. He's off by 0.4 of a percentage point in barrels. He's going to find the success again. It's only a matter of time. You just take him hitting ahead of Aaron Judge, ahead of Cody Bellinger. Judge is Judge, 65-43. He's got 17 home runs. Went through a stretch of 11 games without driving in a run, the longest of his career, but broke out of it the other day. I like him to go on a tear going forward. Still making elite contact, still getting on base at a ridiculous clip. like I said, don't overthink it. Cody Bellinger at 5 at 37. Let other people leave him on the table because the lefty's on the mound. He is excellent, same-handed. Overall, 277, 379, 497, 8 home runs. Tremendous year for him so far. Good opportunity for Cody in this ballpark against this pitcher. Paul Goldschmidt at 43 at 3,000. Fills first base just fine. Been a good source of premium contact. Most of the work coming against lefties this season, but getting a chance overall. 255, 352, 500. Based on the success, he just worked his way into the lineup more frequently, and justifiably so. But the DFS sites really haven't noticed. 43, 3,000. Nothing pricing. You're not paying any kind of tax there. Rice at 58 at 42. The pricing is holding strong. 16 home runs on the board. 285, 378, 615. A little bit of a dip. What's he done over the last 2 weeks? We're not worried about any 2-week stretch really for anybody, but particularly for somebody we know as well as Ben Rice and we know is as good as Ben Rice. He had a day yesterday, but so did all the Yankees. What does this May look like? Yeah, month of May, had a feeling. Still carrying a 118 WRC plus. He has 6 home runs on the board, but kind of sneakily, 235, 287. 494. The most uncharacteristic part of that is the 287 on base. That's very low for Ben Rice. But the power output's been fine. He's got a 259 ISO over that stretch, a 340 weighted on base with a 343 XWOB. There's no problem even when he's in a slump. Just he is that good. So fire away. 58. The price is down slightly over there. 42. I think it's about as high as it's been on FanDuel. Ahmed Rosario at 4,000 at 2,700. They haven't noticed over here. They noticed a little bit on DraftKings, but still very usable at third base. Love the multi-position upside to move him around a little bit on FanDuel. You can get to him and Jazz and Jose Caballero and not occupy shortstop, which is great. I like that combination of players. There's plenty of power and speed upside across that trio. They're very, very usable. You could go third base, second base, shortstop with those guys. Pick one of the first basemen and Aaron Judge and call it a day, or go to Belly. For that 5-man, you're at 46 apiece. So maybe you don't want Belly and you want to go Goldschmidt there at 43. It brings you to 44.60. So you save $100 a man. That's not bad. You could use JC Escada on DraftKings, where he's awfully cheap at 27. Hasn't really shown much at the plate. We were expecting a little bit more in terms of premium contact. Succeeded a little bit more last year, 43.1% hard hit. Didn't go anywhere really with it, over 98 plate appearances, 2 home runs, but that's about it. Hasn't homered yet this year. Really not making great contact, kind of scuffling up there. Decent catcher, 21.7% strikeout, 6.7% walk. You're just throwing darts if you're going there. What's interesting about Escada, third base eligibility on FanDuel, 2,300. Very cheap, just a weird way to mix this team. So if you're just looking around and like, boy, I got 3 Yankees and I wish I could get to a 4th one for correlation, but I want to get to this pitcher. I can't afford getting to even Ahmed Rosario. Ooh, but I can't afford 2,300 on JC Escada. He's useful for that. On the Royals side, no real compelling reason to attack Garrett Cole. This is a better team than they've been, but I don't think we really want to find out today. They're at a 391 implied total. If you're going there, Bobby Witt's an absolute priority, 55-38, 9 home runs, 16 stolen bases, 295, 360, 493. Wants to show off and get himself traded to the Yankees, it seems, but he is absolutely a great way to fill shortstop even against Garrett Cole, pulling a 10.72 in the home run model. A little bit of power upside from time to time against Cole, but again, it's typically a solo shot, a 2-run shot if they get it out at all. Michael Garcia, 44.29, very affordable for the skill set. Right now, just a 92 WRC plus after a great breakout season last year, but most of the tools seem very intact and in line with where he was last year. I will bet on the turnaround in the long term. Vinny Pasquantino's gotten really cheap on both sides, 5 home runs, otherwise really struggling, nowhere near the guy we've seen over the last few years, but this happened last year. I believe we're now at a longer, later date than we were last year when the turnaround came, but I'm still a believer, and Vinny's gotten really cheap, big lefty bat against the righty here. Sal Perez would be in my lineup at 33.27. You're just home run hunting, 9 on the season, carrying a 9.3% barrel, 40.7% hard hit. Carter Jensen's right there in terms of premium contact from the left side. He's hit 6 home runs, but it's cooled pretty dramatically. That came in a hurry earlier in the season. Layton Thomas, a mix and match righty in the outfield, really just another outfielder right now. Had a very good season a couple years ago for the Nats, but really hasn't put it back together since. 5.88 in the home run model. If you're just throwing cheap darts, then sure, but not a priority. Jack Caglianone would be the priority down there. Big time lefty hitter. 3,100 is cheap. 2,600 is cheap on FanDuel, first and outfield eligibility. 15.5% barrel and 57.3% hard hit over 179 plate appearances. It's only amounted to 5 home runs, 239, 307, 399. I don't know where all that contact goes, but he is crushing baseballs when he makes contact with them. So you just continue to ride the potential. Monster lefty who is primed for a breakout. Maybe it's not till next year. Maybe he's a sleeper we're talking about going into the next season. Came into the league as a primo prospect, though. It's not like people are unaware of him, but I think the actual output is kind of starting to disappoint people. You can see some of the quality in the 335 XWOB under the 315 actual, just if you need a little bit of additional reinforcement, but this is elite, and I would continue to go back there. Michael Massey, Isaac Collins, mix and match guys. You can get them in. You want one of them, not both of them in any given lineup. Garrett Cole's so cheap. I think Garrett Cole on DraftKings, Yankees bats on either site. Garrett Cole on FanDuel, just the price offset there. Royals bats, and then Noah Cameron. Noah Cameron, the least useful piece, but the Royals bats not exactly leaping off the page at us. Royals bullpen still gassed. What did they end up using last night? Where's my... So they're actually okay, bullpen wise, because they just actually, no, I'm sorry. That wasn't they left Bailey Falter into like the third inning, despite getting pounded. I think just because he was getting pounded when I thought he was just going to be a regular opener. And then you had Avila come in and throw 67 pitches. But then Steven Cruz and Eli Morgan did come into the game 39 pitches and 30 pitches apiece. So those three guys in particular are pretty gassed. Urquig's probably fine. He threw 14 pitches on Monday. He threw 32 on Sunday. That's less than ideal. But he's the closer anyway. Daniel Lynch can give you plenty of depth. He threw 15 pitches over Sunday and Monday. Didn't pitch last night. Schreiber threw 12 pitches on Sunday, but didn't pitch Monday or Tuesday. Alex Lang and Nick Mears haven't pitched since last Friday. So they've got plenty of arms, but there's nobody that like you'd be like, oh no, he's in. So you don't want to have the Yankees now. Oh no, it's Daniel Lynch. You don't want to have the Yankees. If any of those guys get in the game, it's at worst even money and potentially an uptick for Yankees bats. So yeah, fire away. All the more reason to go. Meach says, DeGrom owe me some money. Better have a good game. Yeah, he owes me some money too. He burned us last time out. That's right. Forgot about that. DeGrom last time out went, what did he do? 6 earned runs. And I tell you what, the start before that, he gave up 4 earned runs, and 2 starts prior to that, he gave up 6 earned runs in that one. So technically you're looking at a Jacob DeGrom who's given up 16 earned runs in his last 4 starts. In between, a 10 strikeout day, no earned runs over 7 innings against the Cubbies, 3 hitter. Pretty dominant start there. He's had a couple dominant ones through the season, mostly fantastic. But yeah, 3 out of the last 4 have been a little bit problematic, and definitely problematic for DFS success where he's priced. But I feel like that's knocked him out of the 10K price range, and he's competing at the very top of the board with Shohei Ohtani on DraftKings, and kind of stands alone on your FanDuel slate at 9,600 for nearly 38 points. You just got to ride through it. But last time out, 6 earned runs, came out of the game after 18 hitters, 3 innings against the Angels, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, gave up 2 homers. The start before that, 4 home runs allowed to Houston. Struck out 4 and walked 0. I would wager that Jacob DeGrom doesn't have many 4 home run games in his ledger throughout the career, but that was one. 2 home runs in the game against the Yankees where he gave up 6 earned, over 6 1/3. He struck out 7 Yankees in that game, 7 hits, stayed in the game for 6 1/3. I forget when the home runs came in that one, but obviously a problematic day, but at least you got the 6+ innings. So you got a little scoring back from that. You got the 7 strikeouts. You get a little scoring back from that. It's not a good day at his pricing, but he can give you a day where maybe that lineup's still cashing depending on what you're putting into it. And you do get that from DeGrom. On a lot of his bad days, you're still getting cashing level type scores, depending on where you went with bats, particularly when he's priced down a few bucks here. And you get major ceiling. He's going up against an Astros team that's kind of scuffling through the season overall. Against right-handed pitching so far this season, 21.2% strikeout rate for the active roster. This version of the lineup that's projected against everybody, 19.6%. Historically, they're not a high strikeout squad. There is plenty of power here, particularly around Jordan Alvarez, but don't sleep on Christian Walker. A little bit with Paredes, but it's not the greatest ballpark in the world for Isaac's power upside here. Jeremy Pena is a capable bat, but not a major source of power. So there's not a lot of downside, not a lot of reason to be concerned about DeGrom here, unless something's wrong under the surface. But there's no real reason to think that. He has given up a lot of power this year, a lot of premium contact. 5.58% home runs is definitely noteworthy. A lot of barrels, hard hits, exit velo, all those are well over our emergency thresholds. They kind of were last year too, though. He was giving up the long ball a little bit last year and was still pretty dominant. 2.97 ERA, 3.37 xFIP, nearly a 28% strikeout rate that he's pushed up even further at 29.8 over 10 starts so far this year. So there's a little bad, a little good, all baked in there, but it's still Jake DeGrom, and you're getting a fair price. 3.50 implied total. Vegas likes it. I think we're going there. Mikey Burrows on the other side. This is a wild card. He's pulling an 11.2% swinging strike rate, but a sub 20% strikeout rate. He's giving up a few too many home runs at a 4.84% home run rate. But if you look, it's not really because of any premium contact. It's just some happenstance in there. This is a good exit velocity mark, 87.8 miles an hour. 37% hard hits. There's nothing wrong with that. 8.5% barrels you could quibble with, but it's not high. Again, 10 is our threshold there. 40, 90. So we're well below. There's nothing at all concerning there. It's a typical fly ball trajectory, and he's just lost a few. He's inducing a good swinging strike rate, but he's not finishing hitters off. He's walking a few too many guys against that strikeout rate, but if he was able to claw back, even what he was last year, 24.1% strikeout, that 8.1 wouldn't be problematic. Over 19 starts and 96 innings with Pittsburgh last year, he struck out 24.1 against 7.7% walks, 12% swinging. Had a serviceable 3.94 ERA, 3.86 xFIP, 3.87 Sierra. This is why he had some hype coming into this season. Was giving up more premium contact last year, but was better for home runs. Just some bumps in the road for a talented pitcher who's got good stuff. It hasn't shown up much this year. There could be something under the surface going on with this pitcher. 93.3 by Stuff Plus this year. Last year it was 95.4. The year before that, 107. That was only over 3 1/3, though. But some of his pitches have measured out better than this over time. So it's just a question of who Mike Burrows actually is, whether or not he's capable of finding anything like what he was pitching like last year. But this is a really good target to go after. Despite what they did yesterday, I'm still on the train of I want to target this Rangers team when they're playing at home. So I think Burrows is at least interesting at 7,000 on either side. He's also incredibly skippable. Would not surprise at all if they tattooed him and the Rangers put up another 6-7 run type day, if not significantly more. But it's a targetable lineup. It's a pitcher who's more talented than what we've seen this year. Probably won't be as popular as he ought to be at those prices. Very interesting for an SP2 on DraftKings. Usable on FanDuel. I do think there's 7 innings in the cards if things go, or 6 innings. I was looking at Jake DeGrom's 7 innings start against the Cubs, just caught my eye line as I was saying that. But Burrows has finished the 6th. He finished it last time out, despite giving up 4 earned runs, striking out just 2, giving up 2 home runs in that game against Minnesota. He went 5 2/3 in a game in which he gave up 7 earned runs against Seattle. 7 innings of shutout ball, 3 hits allowed at Cincinnati, which is noteworthy in that ballpark. 6 strikeout day, very good start. 6 innings to start before that one, 3 earned runs allowed on 8 hits. So even when things haven't exactly gone to plan, they're letting him pitch into the 6th inning. And he's capable of completing 6, giving you a 7th even if things are going great. There's sneaky upside in Mike Burrows. Rangers are probably going to prove otherwise tonight. But, yeah, few darts. Not a bad DFS option. Astros bats against DeGrom are problematic. Pena's nice and cheap at 26 on FanDuel, 39, a little bit higher on DraftKings. But if you're going to the Astros, it's a reasonable play. He's kind of bumping along over 81 plate appearances, missed a chunk of time and just finding his footing for the season. But he had a little bit of a breakout last year. Based on last year, based on the low strikeout, the frequent balls in play, I'm willing to give him a little bit of leash that he didn't used to have with me. 8.2% barrel last year, 43% hard hit. When you get a low strikeout like he is, I'll take that upside, but it comes against Jake DeGrom today, so you're only playing the value there. Isaac Paredes is cheap as well at 32.28, but again, not a good ballpark, not a good pitcher to throw him at, even with DeGrom's downside for power this season. Jordan Alvarez does get interesting against those premium contact numbers. If you're just home run hunting, maybe a very expensive, low-owned one-off of Jordan against a very popular Jacob DeGrom might be an interesting way to play, but that would be all it is. Christian Walker at 41.35. Upside for power as well, 15 home runs. He's cut strikeout significantly. We've talked about that a bunch. Looks a lot like the Christian Walker from 2-3 years ago with Arizona. Really was problematic as the strikeouts ticked up over the last 2 years. But put it back together so far this year. It's nice to see. Good option, and really not priced up at 41 on DraftKings. That makes these guys a little bit more usable. Like if you go... Let's say it's just a two-man. That's a $5,000 two-man for starters, but we can make it more interesting than that. For one, if Taylor Trammell's in the lineup, he's interesting at $2,000. He's got a little premium contact upside, a little bit of speed. Hasn't been particularly good in his limited major league career so far, and probably, honestly, more of a quad A player overall. But for $2,000 in the outfield, worth finding out. And if we're already just taking wild shots in the dark against Jacob DeGrom, might as well get wilder. So grab those three. Now it brings the three-man price down to $4,033, and the other two guys in there are Jordan Alvarez and Christian Walker. And then if I'm bolting on, I like Isaac at 32. Brings me under 4,000. And then we can get really cute and go down there for Cam Smith. And that brings me to 3,600 exactly for the five-man. That, again, still includes Jordan Alvarez, Christian Walker, now Isaac Paredes, as well as Cam Smith, who, again, this is Jacob DeGrom. If we're rostering these guys at all, it's because DeGrom is giving up all that premium contact. Why would we not take Cam Smith, who's carrying a 13.6% barrel rate and 43.2% hard hits? We don't care at that point about the 213, 307, 337 slash line. We don't care about the 295 actual. We care about the 343 xWOBA. We care about all that contact. He can get on base via the walk, but that's probably not likely to come against Jacob DeGrom. He can put 4 strikeouts in your lineup, or probably 3 against DeGrom, and then a 4th against the bullpen, give you the golden sombrero. But there is upside for power if you're going to these Astros for that reason. And he makes things really, really cheap to fill out that five-man. Again, $3,600 a man for that version of the Astros. Obviously, there's other ways to put it together. Myers is a mix-and-matchy guy. Shoemaker can fill out an infield spot. You've got Pena up there. But I think this would be my favorite way to build it. Christian Vasquez is just a cheapo mix-and-match type option at catcher. For the Rangers side, there's probably more potential in them. Again, they just exploded for upside yesterday. They're going up against a gettable version of Mike Burrows. I would start with Jock Peterson at 32.25, especially if he's hitting leadoff again. He's getting on base at an elite 351 clip that's kind of holding him together, 15.1% walk. The hard hit rate has come back, 47.9% hard hits. He's up to a 7.4% barrel, 4 home runs on the board, now up to a 345 xWOBA under the surface as well, 110 WRC plus. Jock has gotten kind of interesting. That's a lefty bat with a lot of thunder over the years. If the power continues to come back and he keeps getting on base, it's going to be a more and more interesting hitter as time goes on. Alejandro Osuna, cheap outfield option from the left side, mix and match hitter at worst. Brendan Nimmo holding down a great line so far this year, 267, 349, 426, 6 homers. The power output kind of cooled, but still great premium contact numbers, 12% barrel, 51.9% hard hit. This is back to the idealized version of Brendan Nimmo from his good years with the Mets. Got traded out of town for political reasons. Josh Young, Jake Berger, which makes Jackson Dart's decision even stupider. Josh Young, Jake Berger, we won't talk about that. Playable pieces in Josh Young, Jake Berger, Evan Carter, Ezekiel Duran, who at 4,300 has been finding success this year. We've seen stretches like this from Duran in the past. What I don't like about him on DraftKings is the shortstop only relegation. He's 4 positions on FanDuel. Any spot you could want him. Shortstop is like the least likely spot that I would put him out of the 4 positions on FanDuel. I'd rather have him at second and third, certainly, and I'd probably take him at first over short. 4 home runs, 4 steals, a 125 WRC plus. Not going to be consistently this good throughout the season, but again, we have seen this exact kind of a stretch from him in the past, hitting 9th for this team over time. So there's ability there, just not consistency. Danny Jansen can strike the ball well from time to time. He's hit 3 cheap home runs in 126 chances, 20 home run upside in a full season, but you're not going to get a full season. Call it like 10 over the course of this year. Mix and match type piece, but he's awfully cheap. Carter's like a line drive type hitter. Berger's got power, 9.9% barrel, 48.9% hard hit. He's hit 10 homers on the season. Otherwise, low end 240, 289, 434 slash line. 103 WRC plus, though. He's been getting it done. Lousy 306 XWOB under that 318 kind of says maybe he's not going to continue getting it done, but he's not expensive. You're just buying cheap shares of power against a guy who's certainly capable of giving it up. Jacob deGrom, way up top, followed by, I'm gonna say discount Mike Burrows in the 2 spot. Take my hat in my hands against the Rangers. Like we, again, succeeded on Monday, failed yesterday. This is the rubber game. I like Mike Burrow's chances. So what did I say? DeGrom, cheap Burrows. Certainly Rangers bats above Astros bats, though. That rounds things out. You can get out of here, Blue Site. Go build your lineups or go about your afternoon. 4:50. Still plenty of time to do all that. No basketball tonight, but hockey will be up on the website a little bit later on. Just one hockey game going on, but still hot and heavy in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Vegas Golden Knights advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals. How about the Knights? 3rd Cup Finals in their 9 seasons of existence as a franchise. 3rd Finals. They have a cup in the bag already from a few years ago. That's insane. How about John Tortorella? Back to the Cup Finals. Should still be coaching my New York Rangers. Got clipped like a decade ago. They've gone through like 5 coaches since. He's been deep playoff runs multiple times. Good coach. Can't believe they swept the Avs, though. The Avs were a powerhouse throughout the season. Vegas was really, really good, too, but that was a surprise. I like their chances. Anyway, hockey projections. Along with all of this content for baseball, these baseball projections, the stacks, the power index, the home run picks, all of it. Yours for under $1 a day, all in. Basketball, too. Football, too, when that comes back. One price. Same login, access to anything that hits that website, rotoscouts.com. Go check it out when you get a chance. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel. After the show ends, after we get through this game and I say a few more words, come back, leave a comment on the video. Do me a favor. Feeds the algorithm. Tell me I did a good job. Tell me I talked too much. Tell me my nose was stuffy and every time I said the word 9, which came up, I don't know. I've said 9 more than any other number. It's a baseball show. I guess that adds up. But whatever you want to tell me in the comment section, just come and leave a comment. That's all we need. Feeds the algo. Helps. Rockies, 2-7-2 implied total going up against Shohei Ohtani. The only ding for the Dodgers today on DraftKings is that Ohtani is not in the lineup. That cut them from first on the stacks board to second on the stacks board behind the New York Yankees. They look ridiculous today. They scored 15, 17, 18, whatever it was, total runs yesterday. Fire away with all things Dodgers, but you don't get Ohtani at the plate. You do get him on the mound. He looks like the top overall pitcher going up against the worst lineup in baseball at by far the lowest total. This Rockies team, do not be deceived by these 21 nines. There are tons and tons of strikeouts in this lineup, as we know. And Ohtani, very good at going to find him. 28.4% on the season, 13.9% swinging strike rate. At 10-7, you just take the shares. There are plenty of ways to pay for him, as we've illustrated throughout the show, with either cheap back combinations, other cheap starters on the board. You can easily reach Ohtani. And this looks cheaper than it is because his 10-7 is skewing those conditional formatting, right? That's the real conditional formatting against one another there. But only 54 on Andy Pajes is the next most expensive Dodger. So honestly, they're not crazy expensive. I think they're 11th by value out of 18 teams on DraftKings while ranking that high on the overall stacks board. That's not bad. 47 is not a bad price on Mookie Betts. 6 home runs on the board coming off a monster day might be the very beginning of a massive run for Mookie. Freddie Freeman at just 49 has 6 home runs on the board. He's carrying an 11.2 in the home run model. Look at all these guys above the magic number in the home run model, by the way. I dropped the game sim from Fangraphs into the Discord channel earlier. Discord free, by the way, linked in the description for this video. Check it out. Join the community. This jibes totally with the percentages, the probability that the Fangraphs game sim from their side against Steamer projections is providing for this. This is all very real for the Dodgers upside. Tomo Sugano coming into the game with a 16.3% barrel rate allowed, 46.6% hard hits, 91 miles an hour of exit velo. Lucky to be at just a 4.05% home run rate so far. That's going to go up tonight. I don't really see much reason to play Rockies outside of just throwing contrarian darts to be contrarian. There's other contrarian spots that are probably a lot more likely to work out. But if you're doing it, you certainly want to get some Hunter Goodman in your life. He paid off the home run pick yesterday. He's got a dozen on the season. 3.38 WOBA, 2.92 xWOBA under the surface remains concerning, but he makes the best contact on this team. A lot of strikeout in this game, very likely to give you a 0 rather than a home run. 7.83. He's typically above 10 against more mortal men. Jake McCarthy at 32, just a mix and match kind of a guy. Solid average, gets to first base, somewhat frequently, 9 stolen bases, but just a 94 WRC plus, a 312 xWOBA, but there's nothing special there. TJ Rumfield, not much special going on with him either, 8.2% barrels. He's got 7 home runs, carrying a 284, 357, 453 slash line, 359 weighted on base, and 347 xWOBA, 116 WRC plus. That's the best that it gets on this team. 15% strikeout, 8.5% barrel rate, probably is their best overall hitter, despite, again, nothing overly special about any of that. The weighted on bases is the key. That's been really good, feeding some of the run creation. A lot of on base, but look where the walk rate is, 8.5%. We're succeeding a lot via BABIP there. That could go away in an awful hurry. Tyler Freeman, a mix and match guy in the outfield, second base eligibility. Oh, no, he doesn't, because it's not on the FanDuel slate. These are the positions from the showdown, by the way, which doesn't matter because everybody's util, obviously. I don't know why they list the actual positions. So Freeman, just a mix and match, just another outfielder. And again, against Ohtani, no thank you. Troy Johnston and Willie Castro, these are just mix and matchy type talents. Not a lot going down this Rockies lineup. Any one of these guys is okay to mix in with 2 more likely bats, like right there. So like Goodman, Rumfield, Tovar, Goodman, Rumfield, Castro. That's your upside. Not much of it. Continuing on, I was part of the way through the Dodgers lineup when I realized I hadn't talked about Sugano on the other side. But again, Mookie, very affordable at that price. So is Freddie. Pajas at 54, that's not an objectionable price for a guy who's at 299, 348, 534 with 12 home runs on the board, a 146 WRC plus. He's entirely worth that. It bounces off you a little bit weird because I guess he's not, fully proven. He's kind of just buried, and not buried because he's been outstanding and he's been creating big scoring events and he's a big part of the team and everything. But just with all the flashy names here, it's just Andy Pajas. It's kind of the name value falls through the cracks, but that price is not wrong. Kyle Tucker is cheaper at 51. That price is arguably wrong. For the version of Kyle Tucker that already at this point is at 245, 345, 398, only 4 home runs and 4 steals, sure, that's a fine price. For the Kyle Tucker that we know for sure is really in there, that's a pretty low price. Monster upside lurking, 14.88 in the home run model, could be unleashed at any time. Max Muncy, if he's back in the lineup, missed a couple days if I'm not mistaken. In the projected 4,500 major source of power, 3 true outcomes type hitter, 4,800 at third base, 3 true outcomes hitter, dozen home runs on the board for Max, a 363 on base. Just the best version of Max Muncy. Love the option for what's always too cheap. I really don't understand why Max is always affordable outside of just wanting to give you the ability to put some of these guys together. Teoscar Hernandez is a little bit more believably cheaper. 7 home runs. He's actually clawed his way up to 278, 350, 439, though. That's a fantastic slash line. 349 weighted on base with a 340 xWOBA, but there's no holes in this lineup. Dalton Rushing, if he's in the lineup, monster power upside from the left side for a pretty affordable price at catcher for just $3,900. He's at 7 home runs in an awful hurry over just 93 plate appearances. It's all very real. Kid's a top prospect for this team. And then Hae-Sung Kim, adequate 254, 320, 325. Mix and match piece at worst down bottom of the lineup. They got Enrique Hernandez back recently. There's all kinds of pieces could be in here. 9-man lineup, any version of it that they roll out. You don't get Ohtani, so I guess it's an 8-man DFS lineup, but he is in there to feed the beast at the top of the lineup, assuming he's in the lineup. So for real life baseball, that lineup just rolls. Larry says, or make fun of the DVD scammer. Absolutely. Go for it. Physical media forever. No Grisha in the Yankees lineup? That's a little bit of a ding. Let me grab confirm lineups. We'll take a look at the Yanks one more time, and then we'll get out of here. Just because it's an important spot. I think, anyway. All right, so this configuration that they've gone to a number of times against lefties makes some sense. Rice moves back into the 2 spot, which I like. Hopefully get that engine kicked back over as far as the consistency goes. But again, the power upside is very real and has been. And we don't worry about Ben Rice, lefty-lefty, nor do we worry at all about Cody Bellinger. Even more importantly, we don't worry about Cody Bellinger, lefty-lefty. Aaron Judge, spectacular in any spot. Goldie improved by moving to the leadoff spot. That's just more opportunity at plate appearance. Love that bat in that spot, and he's succeeded tremendously out of that in that role. Gets on base like crazy as well. So just even if it's just for correlated scoring, plays better from here than he does from behind these guys. Rosario in the lineup, predictably, upside for power from against any lefty, and an interesting piece. We think of him in terms of just this cheap DFS guy who pops in and has put up a few interesting games, but isn't all that good. But if we remember back not too long ago, Amed Rosario was a premium prospect coming up for the Mets. He's still only, 28, I want to say? 30 now. All right, he's 30 and a half. That went fast. It's not like he hasn't been here, right? I mean, he's closing in on his next plate appearance will be his 4,000th in the show. My God. Only 75 home runs, 110 stolen bases, a career 273, 308, 403 hitter with a 96 WRC plus, just a 130 ISO. So hasn't ever really fully paid it off. Peaked at 15 home runs all the way back in 2019 while with the Mets, over 655 chances. Had 211 home run seasons while with Cleveland in full seasons. Solid 282, 283 averages, okay slash lines, 102 and 104 WRC plus in those 2 years. Last year, he hit 6 home runs in 191 chances, so he's already equaled that total, and held a similar slash line and a 106 WRC plus, which at that point was a career high. Had a 331 xWOB under a 321 actual, so was showing signs of being kind of interesting under the surface, and is just really paying it all off in this still very, very small sample of just 95 plate appearances this year. But that is a guy who has succeeded for average throughout his career. Again, 273 average over 4,000 plate appearances now is not nothing. We don't care at all about batting average, but it's also, again, not nothing. Puts the ball in play. And now that he's striking it a little bit more interestingly and finding his power, maybe it goes away entirely and it's only situational power, but this is that situation. So he's real cheap at 4,000, 27, even cheaper. It's just an interesting guy. He's going to be popular. Among people who go to Yankees, he'll also be a popular one-off, especially coming off of last night. Volpe's not uninteresting. Little ability to drive the ball. I continue to think he's not very good overall, but when he connects, he can drive the ball. McMahon, we didn't have in that previous projected lineup. Very, very cheap. Lefty-lefty's not going to be ideal for Rymack here. What we like about McMahon is that ability to draw the walk and drive the baseball. 5 straight seasons of 20-plus home runs, including last year where he hit 20. Several of those most of those with the Rockies. Had a 9 home run season in the COVID year, 52 games, 9 home runs, and 24 home runs the year before that. So arguably that's 7 straight years of 20-plus home runs out of Rymack. We'll see if he gets there this year. Just 4 on the board and carrying a 190, 255, 307 slash line. 31.3% strikeout rate is not odd for him, but just an 8% walk rate is. The 4 seasons immediately before this one, he had a 10.9% walk rate for the 4 seasons combined. For the career, he's at 10.5. So we're down a little bit overall, but that ability is in there. So if I'm rostering McMahon, it's just for cheap. You get him at 25. I was talking about Escada potentially having sneaky value for just 24 at third base for 100 more. Ryan McMahon, equally sneaky. People won't go to him here against the lefty. You get him against the pen later in the game. There's upside. And he found a little bit of the power output. Several of those home runs have come recently. Jose Caballero's interesting against anybody. Get him on base, steal a bag. And then Austin Wells, lefty-lefty. Again, not overly friendly, but you're just looking for the one piece of premium contact. That can come against the bullpen. 4 home runs on the season, but sub-endos at 295, 283 for Wellesley. That was your Yankees rewind. Did Rosario go to Driveline? That adds up. Definitely adds up. I didn't have that in my on my radar, but yeah, now that you say, makes total sense, and I'll probably go look it up and what they were saying about him. Like those Driveline guys. So 2.5 hours in on this really, really interesting slate. Just usability across the board. A lot of pieces. I know the trolls like saying that you get up there and say just, everything's in play. Today, that's somewhat true. There's obviously a couple dead spots, more dead spots at the plate, I think. A lot of this pitching is at worst usable. Got 2 superstars up here, one on FanDuel. Extremely talented and usable. Extremely talented and usable against a high strikeout opponent. One of the best pitchers on the planet at cheap pricing. Interesting young pitcher at a fair price in a high danger spot. I'll throw the same thing at Connor Prelip. Interesting young pitcher at an even cheaper price in a safer spot with a lot of ceiling, but also still some danger for him. An overperforming Bryce Elder, but not a bad spot to continue that overperformance, but a high price. Less so on DraftKings, more interesting on DraftKings. Tyone is where we kind of hit the road. I don't love that spot with Pittsburgh showing a lot of quality, but what I will expect from Tyone is nobody's going to be there. If everybody's rostering the Pittsburgh bats against at 68, it's probably a dart worth throwing a few times if you're building a lot of value-focused pitching combinations on DK. We talked about Burrows having a little bit of potential against Texas, but struggling throughout the year. We talked about Chandler and his big breakout for 11 strikeouts in the most recent game, coming in at only 6, but facing a deadly good Cubs team that probably drives him nuts and just beats him with walks alone. Andrew Abbott, we talked about all the danger that he's in against the Mets. Steven Matz against Baltimore with all their righty power, a lot of question marks. Cameron against the Yankees, a lot of question marks. Sandlin in his debut before we hit the just bottom of the barrel with no usability down there. I think Sandlin for 4 innings for 4,000. If he finds a few strikeouts, maybe gets interesting. Trey Gibson is at that exact same play. But I think Sandlin is probably the more interesting, less in danger guy because I'm seeing power upside on the Rays side. Makes the Rays interesting. Home run pick of the day came from the Rays. It was Jonathan Aranda, if you remember all the way back to the beginning of the show. And with that in mind, you guys, I will thank you very much one more time. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Discord link is in the description. If you scroll down, as our links out to the website, which is rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day, weekly, monthly, quarterly plans available. We'll put a contest up for a free week at some point, probably tomorrow, and see what we can do since it'll be a light show. We'll see if we can make that a little bit more interesting and chatty through the day. But thank you guys very much. Absolutely rock. Best audience in the industry. Love you guys. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter or in the free premium Discord. And then we'll be back tomorrow for more. Later, gang.